again, welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott. And greetings, blessings, salutations, and love. Once again, welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott, and I believe it is Tuesday, so I'm going to run with it. It's Talcott Tuesday. I'm excited today, and first things first, praise God, right? Praise God, the Most High, the one that's behind it all. Praise God for the day. Thank you to all of you who may tune in. Whether you're here in the live version with me or at a later time, I appreciate that you are here. Peace and blessings. That's what I hope to share today, sincerely. And greetings. Greetings and blessings to all of you. I do appreciate this. Today, I gotta admit, man, in Jack's head, well, that was it. I was in Jack's head a little bit today, and it was like the absence of ideas, I lost motivation again today. And admittedly, I almost didn't schedule anything, and I just thought, let me just step back and step away for a little bit. But that may be coming in the future, but not today. Today we're doing the live streaming, man. But this thought is something I was considering earlier, and I'd love to discuss this, and I'll be dropping the link here very soon. We'll see what the day may bring. But this question, if you had everything you needed to do anything you wanted, what would you choose to do? If you had everything you needed to do anything you wanted, what would you choose to do? Myself, I'm pretty open about my hopes. I'd love to be a part of ending wars, right? I'd love to be a part of ending wars and ending wage slavery here on Earth. Oh, it's my most wildest dream. But until that happens, I work towards achievable goals, which is survival and connection and growth. Because truly, in my own life, this is what I trust. My life is testimony for those who will listen, those who can trust, the testimony and words from another human. Secrets and lies took me through hell here on Earth. And it's in the greater picture as well. Secrets and lies have created hell on Earth. Righteousness will restore unity with heaven. Because that's what our purpose is. Our purpose is to be the vessels of good, to be the vessels of divine love offered forth through this time here on Earth. That's who you are, is a vessel for love to pass through. But it's up to you. It's up to you what you offer other people. It's up to you what you take from what others offer to you. This is what I had to realize for myself. In the end, it was all up to me. The topic today, recognition, realization, acknowledgement, those ideas, right? Take those words and apply them to ideas within yourself. Recognize the ideas you have. Realize the creativity that you are and acknowledge the untapped potential that's looking at you in the mirror, because it's there. That's what I know, man. Is this realization? That's part of the process, man. I've been listening. I've been paying attention, and truly, I don't know the right words. I know what I want to point at. I've been fascinated by the idea of saints, records and stories of saints throughout history. And I've been fascinated by the devotees in humanity, devotees of God and mysticism. It's really fascinating to me. Earlier today, I was considering, well, and these thoughts are built with a number of different ideas involved, right? But the vocabulary, the words we use, how important those actually are. See, in my past, when I had the job of a postal worker or a union guy, as a working class Joe, my vocabulary was kind of repetitive. A lot of the same old stories kept getting told. But then when I found myself separated from the routines of the past, I started learning different things. And learning different things allowed my vocabulary to change. Now, I've recognized a long time ago that who I am, how I feel, it's going to depend on that story that's going on inside there, right? The facts are the facts. I can get myself upset over the most trivial things if I allow it. I've done it. I found myself get upset over just minor inconveniences in the past, and I try to avoid that anymore. I just try to avoid getting upset. Because when I get upset, I don't feel good. And when I don't feel good, then I know there's something wrong. It's usually me. In the past, it was usually me that was wrong. And I'm willing to accept that. But it can't always be just me that's wrong. So back to the vocabulary. Back to the vocabulary. And even in the scripture, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. God was the Word. Words control. Words define. Words illuminate. Excuse me. Words are powerful tools that we've all been given. And there's a lot of people who are very sloppy with their words. I used to be. And I didn't realize I was, but I was exaggerating things, particularly when it came to my ex-wife, right? I carried bitterness and some resentment, and that was overshadowed by my guilt and by my shame. And so I had all these feelings, and I told these stories in my head that made me mad, made me angry. Along my way, I started learning how powerful and important the words that you allow, the words you allow to float around and to spend time with you, those words are important. But another idea I learned is in my adjustments of vocabulary, I started to pick up some words that I hadn't been using before. This was part of my process too, one of my stories. One day I was deep in thought, and I can't remember what it was about, but it was clearly relationships and something to do with that. And the words repentance and contrition came into my mind. Repentance I'd heard before. I didn't really quite understand it as deeply as I do now, but contrition, that wasn't a word in my use, in my common. So I actually grabbed the dictionary and looked it up, and yeah, it meant what I was intending, right? And There's a vocabulary that's found in the Bible. Some of the words of religiosity, spirituality, enlightenment, liberation, all of these things. Well, it goes with the topic today: recognition, realization, acknowledgement. Acknowledge that you are who you are, right? And yet realize you are far more. You know you're far more. You're far more than others have accepted, and you're far more than you've accepted. Because if you're anything like me, it's true for me. I've come to accept the real fact that you and we are multidimensional beings of consciousness, divinity, created into form, the energies of intelligence created into form. That's what nature is. That's why it's so beautiful to us, because we recognize ourselves in the beauty. Just a theory, maybe, but Sam, everyone is crazy, just some more than others. It's just been realizing most people can hide their crazy until you start to see the patterns. To me, the patterns of bitterness and repetition, those things, those are symptoms of the craziness. Because truly, in my experience, it is true. The way of Jesus, his way of being, truly, with faith, with love, it is the way to be. Should you not be that way, right? You puffed your chest out and you're going to go punish and you're going to go, victimize someone, oppress someone. You're going to start a war. No, you're insane. If you're feeling depressed and hopeless, maybe afraid and angry, if you feel filled with shame, any of those things, I recognize them all, man. I've been through them all. But if you're feeling those things and it's not just a temporary, oh shit, not just a temporary realization, you're like, oh shit, I screwed up, or oh shit, something to be concerned about. Excuse the language, but you get the idea. If it's not just temporary and you're carrying these feelings of resentment, guilt, shame, whatever, or it keeps coming up multiple times in your day, multiple times a week, you got some healing to do. You got some work that needs to be done. And the glorious thing is there's no effort in the work that must be done on the inner work. For the inner journey may seem long, the goal may seem distant, but there is no distance. There is no effort. There is no time. There is just simply the realization, the acceptance, the recognition that you are. What does that mean? Let the fact that you are remain to be a wonder. Let it be a mystery, not just to you, but to others. Let others figure out who you are by what you choose to share and show, being conscious and aware of what you're offering. Allow yourself to be a mystery and discover what you can accomplish each day. Each day, pick and see. Say, today I'm going to learn something. Today I'm going to accomplish something that I've been meaning to get done. And then do it. It's that simple. God is so good. God is so good. the realization when you experience, and there's many explanations that can confirm what I'm saying, and I'm not claiming to be any master or expert, okay? I'm just trying to explain my experience, my personal testimony. The universe, life, time, God, right? God allowed me to realize and recognize some different things about the world and about me. And what it comes down to is, it comes down to love. Truly, love is the way to be. For those who call themselves Christians, it's not that difficult. Jesus is the commandment from Jesus. Beyond the 10, it was combined into 2, right? Jesus said the 2 were just as important, and he offered it as 1. Love one another. For without love, there is no justice, there is no peace, there is no comfort. Not without love. But the glorious thing is, you are love. It's hard to believe sometimes. What does that mean? That doesn't make any sense. How am I love? Well, when you shut up and you just are, it becomes true. It becomes true. I actually awoke early today. I've been trying to get my sleep schedule adjusted back to early to bed, early to rise. But I've been staying up late since I got here to the East Coast, which really doesn't make sense to me. But I think what it is when I was on the West Coast, I'd go to bed before some of these other panels would start up. And now they're going when I should be going to bed. Anyway, today may not be long. I didn't prepare any slides. Today, the ideas I had were finding your own freedom, your own enlightenment, finding your own spiritual nature, creating liberation for yourself from that which does not serve. Think about that. What does not serve you in your life? What does serve you in your life? Find the things that serve you, that you appreciate. They bring you health, they bring you life, they bring you safety and security. Find those things that serve you and love those things. Appreciate those things with intention, right? And purpose. And those things that do not serve, love them enough to let them go. The things that do not give you joy, that you cannot find a way to trust, let them go. Hey, we have our first guest, and it's one I think we've had some great conversations together. Welcome back, Steelman.
Hey, you can hear me okay then?
Little soft. I might turn you up. What's that?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, yeah. I didn't mean to. I'm not gonna say much. I just actually came because I heard said you were on the East Coast now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, and since you began your travels, I was kind of, I was gonna throw you an invitation, but I wasn't really sure. And then since you said you were on the East Coast, I thought I'd hit you up and let you know that I'm in Connecticut, and I don't know where in the East Coast you are, but that's where I'm at. So if you ever want a place to hang out for a while, that's where I'm at.
I appreciate that. My geography isn't that great. I'm currently in Baltimore. I'm in Maryland right now.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't been in Connecticut for long myself. I'm from like Colorado and Florida, so my geography in this area, yeah, I couldn't tell you where Maryland's at from here either. But
it's not far, but Honestly, I'm not sure how to accomplish this, but I want to find a way to make a difference in DC, and I hope to do it soon.
Oh,
But
oh, oh, so that's so you're still hanging out in you're still that's the okay, that's still yeah, like I always okay, yeah. So are you still planning on hanging out around that area? Is that what you're saying? Didn't you arrive like in DC or something like that a while back or something like last week or something?
I got to the area about a month ago, near the end of April.
Oh man, yeah, time flies, huh?
It does. It's
Yeah, I didn't realize you were going to be hanging out there. You know, for that long. I thought you were going to continue traveling. I guess is why I thought maybe if you travel up this way at all, um, you know,
I
yeah.
agree.
So, anyways, I just yeah.
Oh,
But
hey,
that's why
I
I really came out to say, so I didn't mean to keep interrupting you. So I'm going to get off so that I don't, because I have a tendency to do that. And that's why I really wanted to throw you an invitation and yeah, like I'm the one who asked if you had a Discord, because then we could hit you up in Discord and we could talk about this kind of stuff. But I don't know how else I'd hit, how else you could contact me about it. But if you ever want to, uh, I don't know. I mean, anyways, Chambers of Logic is my new channel, so I got my email in there. I got it set up so you can talk to AI live, and we can like have AI uh, fact check our discussion and whatnot. But that's for another day. I don't want to like. Anyways, thanks a lot, man. I'll keep in touch. Throw me a shout out if you want to come by. All
hey,
right, see ya.
much love. Appreciate that, Steel Man. Thank you. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna at this time. My intentions are not to continue the travels. I don't have any answers, but I'm trying to figure it out. And you know what, Edward Cam, you and many others, I find Jack's message to be uplifting and encouraging, just the midday perk I need. Blessings to you and thank you, sincerely. And Sammy, still at work, but hit the like already. Blessings to you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you folks, man. Um, this life we're living, it's something else. It can, it can, well, it is what it is. Life and all that it is just how it is. And so the key I found is be at peace. Be at peace with all that is, the good, the bad, the ugly, the pleasurable, and the painful. Let it be, because it is. And if you can find peace with all that is in the moment, well, then you can feel that feeling that you've already got everything you need. And if you've got everything you need right here, right now, for today, what do you want to accomplish? Because you really can do anything. Anything you set your mind to and create the opportunity to do, you're going to do it. If it's what you want to do and what God wants you to do. But the key is to align the two, to try to do those things that you believe God would want for you to do, for you to achieve, for you to receive. But for you to think big in what you think God may want you to achieve or receive or experience, if you want to think big, you've got to have a healthy, intimate relationship with God and you. You've got to know you and what you want. What do you want more than life itself? I thought I knew. I thought I knew what I wanted in the past, but to be honest, I spent most of my time on what I didn't want. I spent most of my conversations, I can bet, Most of my conversations were probably about things I didn't like, or it was a lot of things I remembered, because I talked about work an awful lot, because that was all my life was, which was kind of sad. But you guys are amazing. I don't believe I don't know, actually, to freak, as you're asking that question, is I don't know. My first thought is I don't believe they are, but without investigation, I can't say that I know. And this is one of my ideas, one of my thought processes, because seriously, for those who are interested and willing, brainstorming with me, I could benefit from other healthy perspectives, right? Besides just me. And so pinned to the top of the link is the pinned to the top of the chat is the link for any who may wish to join. But so where I was going with that is I've been prayerful and faith filled that I would find the answers, I would find the opportunities I needed to succeed somewhere on my way. Well, I've made it to where I am, and I'm still kind of, well, this morning I got in the dumps a little bit because I was out of ideas. And hey, another Sean, welcome back to you. How are you today, my friend?
Fine, thanks. Yourself?
I'm feeling blessed. I'm truly feeling blessed. How about yourself?
Not too bad. So yeah, you have big goals, man.
I do. But the bigger goals came from the idea of why not?
Has anybody tried it before? I mean, I think Gandhi was who's the already was Jesus anti-war?
I believe so. Although there's people who claim he was there to create a war. My understandings of Jesus is he was there for the Jews, right? He was of them and for them. He was sent to the lost. They were confused into these traditions of animal sacrifice and the commercial aspects and all the punishments. But regardless, he came to that specific group, and as far as they were concerned, there was two people. There was the Jews, they had rules for them, and then there was the others. There was rules for the others. Well, Jesus came to the Jews and said, hey, no, there are no others. There are those who are with me. And mankind has been confused, man, for a long time. But Sean, I remember you have beliefs different than me. We're living through this time, and life actually is a far greater mystery than most of us realize. My mind and eyes were opened to the mysteries of life. And my testimony is my life fell apart. So when I lost the family and the career and all of my other purposes, I had to figure out, what do I do now? Well, you start where you are and you pick a direction. So I picked the direction a long time ago. I had the goal of trying to help the United States Postal Service become a better place to work, just through some practices and techniques of mind. So I still have the goal of helping the United States Postal Service become a better place to work, but now my goal has grown. Now I want to, because the connection with the federal government that I had, now I have my sights set on the greater federal government. Because if we want a better world, it's going to be done through the people. And I've been studying self-development. It's no joke. It's something that every human should be considering. How do I develop myself into a greater version than who I was? It's how we grow. But if I can, and Sean, I learned this through the life coaches, right? There's so many ways of explaining these things. It comes back to what Jesus said. Have faith. Have faith, be truthful, and be with love. And as long as you do those things, what can harm you? Well,
Yeah, but don't you think Jesus is a bit contradictory, because he says he's all love, but then he says if you don't follow me, you're going to hell or something.
well, it turns out it's true. I lived in hell until I started following him.
No, I'm talking about the afterlife. Hell.
Well, the eternal life is what he was pointing at, and the eternal life can include today. We just must
Yeah, but
align
you do
with
agree
the
that there is a hell, afterlife hell.
not like the Catholics have taught. No, not a place of eternal damnation. I trust God allows, and when there's no more purpose, it's done. Right? So if we don't choose to turn to God at some point, God will just say, yeah, you're done. Poof, no more.
No, but I thought it says in the Bible, like there's hell in the Bible. What type of denomination are you in Christianity?
I don't define myself with a denomination, because many of the churches, well, the church, it's by a perfect design. The true message, you could say it like this, right? The true message of Christ came forth, and then the churches started out in a good fashion and form. Well, what a perfect gateway for the devil. So the devil infiltrated the churches quite early and twisted and manipulated the doctrines. And that's why, for quite a few years, the churches wouldn't allow the people to have a copy of the Bible, right? It was holy, and so it had to go through the interpreters. And let's face it, all the Christian denominations of today come from the Catholic Church. So I don't know that I found a denomination that I really resonate with, but I've found inspirations from many of them. Holy cows.
So you're more like non-denominational.
Perhaps, yes.
You're more liberal, non-denominational.
Perhaps.
Do you agree with the LGBT movement?
I trust in God's will for all things. I judge not.
But God judges the gays specifically. The act.
So many people believe. I trust that God's number one purpose is love. Now, mankind, through our chemical distortions and the societal distortions, people have been corrupted since before they were born. So I'm not going to judge anyone, especially on who they love. It's like, no, God moves the heart. I mean, people make the choices through the mind, but
Yeah, but you do agree that God mentions the act of doing it is sin, or Paul too, I think, says it. He doesn't like it neither. So it is a sin in Christianity.
well,
I think
Paul's
you're supposed to
right.
get stoned in the Old Testament if
As
you're
I
gay.
said, as I said, there was confusion in the people. The I don't remember the exact verse, but it's pointed out about the lying pens of the lying pens of the scribes, and so there's been mistruths. Jesus dealt with them at his time. If you accept those things as truth, and I made the goal when I first started turning towards God and thinking about Jesus. I didn't really believe in him. I mean, I didn't know what to believe. I didn't reject him, but I thought, you know what? That's if I can just accept that's the idyllic version of a man, the way he moved with grace and truth and strength. Stephen, welcome back.
Hello, yo, Jack.
Let's
What a beautiful day. What a beautiful.
So
How are you blessed today, brother? How are you, brother Sean? Brother?
fine, bro.
Thanks, bro. Awesome, bro. Hey,
good for you,
what's
Sean.
what what's the conversation here about the gays? Sean, you don't really think that God hates gays, do you?
Well, I didn't read the Bible. I only read like half of it. I don't really remember a lot of it. But other atheists talk about it and they say that, yeah, God doesn't like the gays. I
There's
think
a
Paul
lot of
says it too. I think Paul's a self-hating gay man.
well, from Paul's writings, that's where much of the church doctrine grew. And if you can consider it, he's one who didn't actually meet with Jesus in the flesh. He held a supernatural experience that was the basis of his foundation. And while his writings actually helped confirm my understanding and my faith in God. His writings have also been used by churches for separation, and this just believe in the name and you'll be saved. That's I'm pretty sure that was Paul, right? I could be
Believe in the
mistaken.
name, brother? Is
Not
it
sure.
believe in the name?
It's my understanding that you know what? I'm talking out my ass from things I remember hearing, and I've not gone back to confirm for myself. Okay. But in the
Good move,
writings of
Jack.
Paul, what's that?
I said, good move, Jack, because T-Jack Illumitami would be on your back if you
Yes.
said you remember
I
something in the
know.
Bible, and he's watching. He's trying to catch you up on all that stuff.
Dude, I have many watching me, so I've been learning to be more selective with my words, trying to choose more cautiously.
Well,
Um,
Tommy, I don't think God hates you even if you come out as gay. I don't know if he is. He might be bi. He talks about the trans, and I'm not sure. I don't think he's straight. He said on my show, he said, "Black Jesus, I ain't straight." He said to me one time, he likes that. What's her name? There's a famous trans YouTuber, Blair White, I think her name is, or his name. It was a guy that transitioned to a woman, and she's got big fake boobs and all this stuff, but and her hair done and a lot of plastic surgery. She does look female, but Tommy has said that she's beautiful, and that's where the whole thing came out with people saying that Tommy likes the trans because it's not a, you know what I mean. It's
Yeah. People are fascinating. The people of today, they're so quick to judge and condemn without even looking at themselves, without even thinking about, what am I like? In my own path, I didn't take God and Jesus real seriously, but I thought he is the perfect demonstration of a man, even if it is imagined. Well, admittedly, I had tried to be like Jesus my whole life. I always tried to be honest. I always tried to do the right thing, but I kept screwing up. And I also had no faith. I had no faith in God. I had no faith in anyone else. And yet I was trying to be perfect. We have to include God. And this is what I found. Even if you have an unclear concept of God, love. We've got to have love.
Can it be any type of God? Like, you could make up a God in your head and that'll be fine.
Well,
Like Black Jesus God or something.
What I suggest is I don't have a definition of God. I know God as a power, a concept, an energy, and God is so powerful and mysterious, it can reveal itself into any form it may want. And I believe that's what we are. We are the forms that God has manifest itself into so that we could learn of the creation together. It's a glorious idea. For me, God is everything true. So I don't claim to know everything true, but I seek to know what is true, especially for me.
That's the
So
glory
would
of
God be true if he wasn't real?
What are you taught? Like, your questions are, sorry for interrupting, but Sean, your questions are kind of getting weird. Would God be true if God isn't real?
I am an
I
atheist.
don't know.
It's
Okay.
a deep.
I'm a critical thinker.
But can I say something, Sean? You said that Black Jesus isn't real. I think that Jesus most likely did look more like Hank than Tommy. Look at the region where they lived. It wasn't exactly the whitest people. I mean, like the skin tone would have been darker in those times. So when Black people say that their Jesus isn't white Jesus, that's what they say. I'm kind of supporting them with this, saying he probably was darker. Like, it makes, and what's the difference? Why do white people get upset by that so much, by a darker skinned Jesus? It's just skin color, right? Why would they be upset?
People like to get upset. That's the whole thing, the ego. And people,
I mean, I don't, sorry, I don't, go ahead.
The white culture wants to see the familiarity with Jesus.
Yeah.
That's why it would be rejected.
And Santa Claus as well, like a
Well,
white Santa with
Catholics get a lot of visions of Mary and saints and all that. And we got a lot of that going on. So we see different types of Marys.
Sean, do you think Jesus or God would be upset by a Luma Tommy sucking a tranny penis though? Like, why would he keep them? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to get back to that question that Sean asked.
Okay.
Would God be, I don't remember how it was posed. Would God be real if it was not true, or would God be true if it was not real? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
I know the two to be the same. Is that not for you?
So is this like quantum physics stuff?
Yeah, but I mean,
like,
you started
real and not real.
You started asking a quantum physical question, so you can't return it like, oh, that's a quantum physical answer to my quantum physical question. That's what you asked for. So
yeah.
So what's wrong with that, Sean? I mean,
actually,
quantum
Sean,
physics.
I'd like you to take that thought and carry it through for yourself. not in the negative fashion, but in the positive fashion. If God is real, then what is true? If God is true, then what is real? I've been playing with these, wondering for a long time which parts of this life are real and which parts are just imagined.
Yeah, but the scientific method, I think, is the best way to find the truth. I mean, critical thinking and all that stuff.
And that's what I'm suggesting you do, because it was through logic and reasoning that I came to these conclusions. But I had to consciously and intentionally press my mind into thinking about things differently than I had before, right? Think my thoughts through, carry it through the if then statements, because that's what gives us the logic in our mind. Makes sense?
Yeah, but okay, but it could be any type of God. I mean, I could make up a God. I could say I have a vision and I saw a God and it's like transgender black God.
Yeah, of
And I'll
course.
believe him, and I'll have totally different beliefs.
Of course, for
And then-
you it would be a transgender black God, because that's all you guys want to talk about. Just like Black Jesus, that's why you're here, right? To demoralize the whole conversation, to bring down the conversation.
Well,
No,
Boy.
you're assuming. You're making an
Boy.
assumption that's false,
No,
and you're
no, I'm
bringing
making an
grudges.
no,
No,
it's an
you're
observation.
biased against me to
Yeah.
begin with.
Please,
Jack, he's
Yeah,
please.
definition.
yeah,
Yeah.
you are.
Yes,
Please,
I am.
let's not argue. I mean, we can hear each other out and we can discuss the disagreements, but when we're talking over, it doesn't help. And boy,
All-
in their defense, I don't believe it's as in negative or intentional like that as you might think.
Do you think these guys actually have those questions in their mind? No.
It's an opportunity to answer the questions.
Can you
And
read
with
my
every-
mind, Roy or Voy? Can you read minds?
Well,
And
your
with every
mind
answer,
very
Can you
easy
read
to-
minds?
Yes.
With
You're
them-
here to bring negativity and insults, Jack.
Nah.
He's not
with-
serious.
let's please, with every answer, seeds are planted. And these deep philosophical thoughts, these deep questions, I actually think that is the path for us, mankind. We got to start figuring it out for ourselves and helping each other figure out what is real.
Jack, do you think all religions are kind of similar?
Yes.
So
They-
is everybody going to heaven? All these religious people?
Sean, I don't know how to explain clearly what's within me. Heaven and hell. Heaven and hell are states and experiences that we might perceive, that we might find. So far in the human life, they're temporary. Everything is temporary. And so the message of Jesus and the true gospel was the kingdom of heaven is here. It's to be found with love and through love. And you walk with love and faith, and then you know God's kingdom and you know God's presence, but it's up to each of us to do. The ideas of hell, it was part of the religious doctrine to create fear and control. And then the fear and control methods from religion, hell and damnation, that was given over to the state governments and the kings and queens, man. We've had the answers available for us all along. I mean, if you look at the world for what it is, behind the pollutions and behind the wars and all the problems that mankind has made, nature is fucking amazing. So beautiful. And Mother Earth doesn't need us.
Well, nature's kind of violent too, though.
It's powerful.
dangerous.
It's intentional. It's purposeful. Mankind lacks those things, yet we are very powerful.
Yes, nature. I agree with Jack. Nature is so beautiful. Maybe Sean doesn't see the beauty at this point. Maybe he will at some point.
Well, yeah, I see the beauty, but I also see like the violence in nature. Like now,
you see what violence do you mean? Yo,
well, nature is full of suffering and stuff, pain and stuff.
Are you against suffering?
No, it's just that I think I'm realistic.
Design?
I don't expect everything to be love and happy all the time.
Uh-huh.
You seem quite resistant to it.
No, I'm trying to be realistic. Like I don't expect
Sean, do you hate nature?
The future to be like, I don't expect everybody to be loving and peaceful. If we all, let's say hypothetically, we all follow Jack.
Isn't, but some people are.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I don't think there will be ever a perfect utopia. Well, there might be. I don't know. We might be in space, like Star Trek,
space
going around fucking aliens, but that's in like 1,000 years.
Jack, I have a question for you. Do you think Jack would have, or not Jack? Do you think God would have a sense of humor? Do you think that a spiritual being that's created all of this would have some kind of sense of humor and cleverness in the design where we are in this realm?
I'm convinced. I'm absolutely
so then God
convinced.
God would probably laugh at Black Jesus even if I made a joke. I don't think God is offended, right? Go ahead.
Thank you. There was another conversation happening
about nature
and the lack of belief of people uniting. It's easy. It's hard. It can be hard to imagine better, but it's also not difficult at all. And especially once you're willing to, once you have the encouragement and the inspiration. See, I was blessed. I was blessed to discover other organizations, I've listened to enough lectures and seen enough prototypes and enough engineering examples that I know solutions are available right here and now. Sean, you're saying the Star Trek thing, some distant future. We've got the technology available right now. It's hidden behind government corruption, corporate corruption, and paywalls.
But you know this, Jack, because you're a bit more experienced in life than Sean is. I think Sean is a bit younger.
Oh,
that could be.
That seems
Thank you.
Like an insult, though. But
no,
Sean's a Trekkie. Maybe God is a Trekkie. Maybe God's a fan of Star Trek.
Maybe God's an alien.
Well,
playing games with us.
He's not a human.
Stop nerding out, guys. Stop nerding out. Come on.
There is like Paul Wallace's interpretation of the Old Testament regarding the Elohim being the powerful ones, and you tie in some of the other cultural histories, and yeah, it's possible that aliens were involved. Other beings perhaps were involved in our creation, whether it was fallen angels, whether it was aliens, who knows, man.
Do you agree with this model that a lot of scientists came to the conclusion, studying DNA material, that our DNA has been messed with? You know, it's not.
Can you show me a photo of DNA other than an artist cartoon? Show me evidence.
Well, that's a good question, Stephie, but I don't. But I like
to pronounce my name, boy.
I do appreciate the idea.
Respectful.
I do appreciate the. I do appreciate.
Be respectful.
I
know what you are. You're
I do appreciate the idea of our species being messed with, because we seem somewhat incomplete, right? So, yeah, whether it's DNA, whether it's provable in DNA, I think it's provable just looking at society as a whole and looking at history. that there's something wrong with humanity. And that might
Absolutely.
have been because somebody messed with our DNA, somebody mixed us or mingled us, where we,
Well,
I
there's
don't
something
know.
wrong with you.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that's how I know.
Well, I still consider it's all a part of a perfect unfoldment of time. There's a perfect story behind all of this, and life really is a mystery. There are beings and energies that we don't see, we can't really detect or sense, but they affect us. And some of the earlier interpretations were about demons and angels, but
I can't really debunk this very well, but have you ever tried talking to an atheist online about your beliefs, like in call-in shows and stuff like that? Try and convince them.
well, I've tried talking to you and others.
Yeah, but like I'm not the best at being an atheist. There's other atheists that are professionals, and they
Oh,
would be able
I
to
did.
debunk all this.
I
Do you
did.
understand?
Sorry. I did have a conversation with Leo Filius, I think is his name. And he's a brilliant young man, very science-minded, but he identifies as an atheist. We spoke, but so far it seems I've been unconvincing.
Wait, was that
myself
on
to be
modern day
open-minded.
debates?
Sorry, what?
Was that on modern day debates, the debate channel?
On breakfast tacos.
Oh yes, I heard about that.
He does some great political debates and religious debates. This
Yep.
God is nowhere and everywhere. God is no thing, and yet its essence is everything. And we are that. We are the time. That's what I've realized. The world we live in, it's controlled by time, right? So many ways I can explain this, right? Through the conditioning of the bell in school to the routine of the work week. We're controlled by time, but time is who we are. And if we want to escape time, escaping the urgency and the regret, if you want to escape those things, then become lost in the present moment. Because when you lose yourself in the present moment, you lose yourself in yourself. And that is, in my definition, that is the eternal life. Every day seems like a week for me, and a week is like a month. It's kind of crazy. Time is different. It's amazing. And yet nothing is different. Everything is the same, right? It's still chop wood, carry water, still be a human being and do the human doing. But
I think some would say to Jeeps, though, that that's kind of hippie stoner talk, that God is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Because you kind of have to be in a different mindset to envision that type of thought or idea. You get what I mean?
to get for me to get an idea of God, I had to consciously try to get my mind out of space-time, because I assume God is beyond the creation, which would mean it's beyond the limits of space and time. And that would also explain the eternal nature. And we are beyond space and time in the essence of who we are. Because the essence of who we are is consciousness.
I did smoke a joint, and I'm kind of high, but I'm not beyond space and time tonight, Jack. Come on. Are we?
Did you ever take drugs like psychedelics and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
used
I think
No, I'm not a druggie.
Like maybe 10 years ago, I used to take like mushrooms and acid and things like that. Yeah.
That gets
Sorry,
you.
Yeah, I think Revelations might have been invented by a guy who was taking drugs or something. Like
What?
It's out there.
the beliefs that humans could have been helped with drugs. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah.
You tend
It
to
is so-
make very, very weak statements because you ended with, you know what I mean, or something, Sean. You tend
Well,
to say
I'm-
something very deep, like about Revelations, and then you say, do you know what I mean, or something. That really doesn't,
Well,
Always
I am
being a
black.
dick, though.
it doesn't state your
You-
case.
You black, brother? Sean?
No, doesn't sound like
You
it.
black, brother? Oh,
No.
the other guy, Void. He's not black. He ain't black.
All right,
But do
sorry
you
about
think
that.
that? Sorry, do you think that God would support somebody using meth and firing weapons into the air on a live stream, or would God be against that kind of drug abuse and recklessness?
Yeah, no, I don't think you'd agree with his behavior. God was very he didn't take drugs. I mean, Jesus, I don't think did Jesus take drugs? I mean, I know they found evidence of marijuana in the old Jewish temple thing. They were smoking the weed, the priests.
Yeah. Not actually marijuana, but they found cannabinoids. There's a really good chance that it was marijuana.
Right.
Well, Jesus absolutely used weed because he was black. You hardly know a black man that won't smoke the
Steven.
weed.
Wait, did they?
It's so
No.
lame. This game is so lame.
Well, the idea of psychedelics and even cannabis, you know, these ideas, these plants and natural methods of affecting and shifting our perceptions and our consciousness. I was thinking about this earlier today, kind of in line with the idea of hallucinations and hallucinogens, even the idea of a dream, a hallucination, a dream, a day. They're just experiences. It's all the same. The only distinction is what we think is real. And so it's all a dream. Every moment of every day, it's an experience sensed through the body and observed through the mind. So be still in the mind and enjoy the body.
Wait, did you get any miracles or visions from God or anything like that?
Nothing that I could say would be a supernatural experience, but I did have moments, many moments of just profound emotions, like good emotions, love and gratitude, some shame. Yeah, shame to go with the love and the gratitude.
I had a supernatural experience of seeing Jesus in Catholic school, and we went on a spiritual retreat. So I had a vision. We meditated. They taught us how to meditate.
That's good.
And Jesus did look darker skinned. He was not white as snow. It doesn't matter. People should, if you worship Jesus, it shouldn't matter what the skin color looks like or his height. If he has a beard, if he's clean shaven. I'm trying to get the point across. I don't know why it matters to people unless they're racist or something out there,
Well,
Christians that are racist.
If you say that height
Well,
doesn't
Jesus
matter,
was Jew.
I wouldn't want to see Jesus as a midget, dude. Especially, come on, I can't imagine Jesus.
That might be hard to
Right?
accept, but I have a feeling that we're going to learn a lot more. I have a suspicion that God will allow more history to be revealed. more documents, more translations, and actually, if I'm right about what I feel is happening, after we convince the state leaders to end the wars, then I want to go talk to the new Pope about opening up the vault of the Vatican. Let's see what history's been hidden from the world.
Yes, that would be very interesting to see what they have hidden away in there all this time.
Your ambition has no limits, Jack.
I feel like God's with me, dude. So why not? Why not?
We need prayers. Do you think if we prayed all for you, do you think it'll work? Prayers?
If what?
If we all prayed for you to do stuff, would it work?
My theory is no, because I've had a lot of people who I believe were intentional with their prayers, but I have the theory that I'm gonna succeed through physical forms, right? I'll meet the right person at the right time, or I'll have changed directions. I'll have done something different, and it'll work. The prayers, the message I learned and what I want to share with others is prayer is most important when we're seeking the answers. Seeking the answers. How can I make this miracle happen? How can I help you, God, to make this happen? That's what I've been asking myself. So there's a lot of power in prayer. I don't diminish that. I know I've met people and I know people who testify to miracles just from prayers. I haven't seen that.
Me neither.
But
hey, speaking of Jesus being a midget, though, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a Bible verse where they're in like a big crowd of people and somebody's trying to see Jesus, and it says that they can't see. It just says that, like, I'm paraphrasing here, but it says like they can't see over the crowd because he's too short. And it doesn't specify whether they're talking about Jesus being too short or the observer being too short. So there's like been this like centuries long dispute about who they were. Like Jesus might have been a really short guy.
He was a shorty. That's true. Andy.
Yeah, but was it the Talmud that you were reading, or were you reading the Bible?
It's been so long. It's something I heard about when I was like a teenager. I can't even remember.
No, that sounds familiar. And I can see that there's a lot of mysteries, and mankind has been debating and arguing for generations. This kind of blew my mind when I was a kid. To be honest, the whole dispute over race, the race divide. I'd learned about the civil rights movement long before I was born, and I was thinking, what is these people's problem? Why are they still fighting, man? Shoot, now I forgot where I was going. Sorry.
Race. You were talking about the race problem or race issues, you said? Civil rights and...
Yeah, I don't know.
Jesus being a midget?
I don't.
Yeah, Jesus was... Would it matter if Jesus was a black midget? Like, would that really matter?
Yeah, I told you. Yes, it would. To me.
It would change the mental stories, right?
Yeah.
You view them differently. Yeah. Maybe it would make you view midgets like more like respectfully.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, Jesus was a midget. Like, maybe these people are holy or something.
You wouldn't toss a midget or dwarf like some of those contests, those bachelor parties they have where you can hire the... You know what I mean? Like,
you need consent. You need consent.
It's consensual. They work to make a living that way. They get paid, but
yeah, I've seen it
it's
actually.
wrong on some level. Like, you wouldn't throw Jesus if Jesus was a dwarf. You wouldn't toss Jesus dwarf.
Well, you would have to assume that if he was a dwarf, that he would want to make some money.
Well, actually, this is where I disagree, because what you're saying, yeah, people will totally exploit themselves, diminish themselves just for a shekel, right? Just to make a little coin. And I don't believe Jesus would do that. He stood against the religious, against the state, and against the economics.
He also professed to give away your money as well. He was very
Even if he was
apocalyptic. I think
a
that's
midget, he
what
had
that
the
was
heart of a lion.
related to.
He wouldn't. I agree with Jack. He would not sell out for a shekel. He had the heart of a lion, right?
Yep. And this is where I've been tested. I had a theory earlier today, right? I think this is why I'm in the situation I'm in. There's been a lot of people I've learned from. Very inspiring people. They're doing a lot of great things in the world, but they've made it, right? They're living these very comfortable lives, traveling around. They're important, and I never got that. I'm still hungry for success. And I have
You
a
might be
theory.
taller than Jesus.
I could be.
Well, according to
How
your
tall are you again? There's a rumor going around that Jack is only 5'2". I don't know if that's true. You got to be taller than 5'2". But
Yeah, despite the rumors, I'm about 5'8" or so.
people were shorter 2,000 years ago. So Jesus might have been shorter than Jack. He might have been 5'6", 5'5".
Well,
Maybe a
do you
midget.
believe in the Shroud of Turin? Shroud of Turin.
Yes, I do.
No. No. Well, I mean, I believe it exists, but I think it's a forgery.
Yeah, probably.
most likely is. Yeah.
What do you think, Jack? Shroud of Turin.
It's real. I think it's holy.
I think the most important thing is the message. That was the other thought I was thinking of, is mankind has been fighting about all sorts of things. It doesn't make sense. People have been fighting over irrelevant disagreements while the evil continues. Even the division, especially the divisions between the religions. What the hell are they doing? This is crazy sauce. We're here
Jack,
to create a better world.
Jack, why do you think there are so many religions and different races and ethnicities? Do you think God planned this so that we have to come together and work together, or is there some other divine plan here?
I give everything, my first thought these days, I start with God's divine perfection. And if you look at nature, man, God shows the glory through diversity. And so why not? Why wouldn't we have diversity, not only in how we're made physically, but also diversity in how we move spiritually? I could get that. But it's all exploration. If in fact, right, this physical universe, this realm it's for the immoral soul to have this experience. We're here to explore what it's like to be a human here on earth in the form that you are. That's the whole purpose of why we're here. And in the exploration, what's that?
Oh, no, sorry. I thought you were done. Sorry. No.
I was going to point out, in the exploration of life and and everything that it's like to be a human, well, God allows the craziness and the evil to rise. So through trial and error, that's how we figure it out. I believe God is going to continue allowing us to keep dividing. And as we divide, we're at war with each other and ourselves. It's going to continue until we choose to unite. Unity is the goal.
Don't you believe in the Book of Revelations and the end times and all that stuff?
I believe it's happening now, and I believe the prophecies are becoming fulfilled through us, And I pray that I am playing a role. Actually, well, until Christ returns, I want to play a leading role. I'd love to organize and lead an army, people who care about the truth and care about reform, care about peace and love and compassion in the name of Jesus. We create a world that's worthy of his return.
But can I also be atheist?
Amen.
Can atheists join you?
Please. I want everyone who cares about the truth to join.
Talcott is a
But-
big tent. Everybody's welcome, even atheists.
Yeah.
So there'll be like different beliefs in your cult or your grouping, and there'll be atheists.
Oh,
there'll
come
be
on. Don't call it a cult. That's
haters.
kind of a low
There'll
blow.
be everybody.
Trigger
Well-
warning.
All that who can get along are welcome. And to get along, we just need to align with a greater goal. Beyond our personal disagreements, we have the opportunity to work together and work together towards something that's never been done before. That's what I'm hoping to do.
So you're hoping to do like a protest or something? A
I'm
big
hoping
march?
No. I'm hoping to find connections through the right people. It could be very easily done. I'd love to have a conversation at the Capitol building, kind of a State of the Union address from a citizen to the administration, and maybe bring some encouragement for them to change directions. It's time for them to put down their Republican and Democrat hats and start recognizing there's human lives at stake based upon the choices they make individually and collectively while they're in positions of Congress. And I believe the American public and the rest of the world deserve better than what we've been receiving. I think the facts support that.
Yep, they do.
So,
Do you think
how
if
do we make
if
it happen? Sorry,
this is a good idea. Do you think if everybody was vegan, there'll be no more wars?
What? What? Vegan?
I don't know. It's a thing that I'm thinking about. Veganism.
Wait a
I'm like,
second.
it's good for the environment. It's good for ethics of nature. It's good for your health. Well, it depends if you do it right for health.
Do you think
So-
we're warring over cheeseburgers? Is that what you're getting at, Sean? What are you
Well,
talking
if everybody
about?
was vegan, I don't know. If
Huh?
everybody was vegan, let's say hypothetically, if the whole world was vegan, then you would be like, you can't kill animals, so you can't kill humans. So I don't know.
I agree, Sean. I think it's worth a try, but I wouldn't force anyone to do that.
I'd kill for a good steak and a lemonade right now. I
Hey,
really love steak. I don't know how. Sorry.
I encourage you to check out the movie Christspiracy, because they try to answer the question, how would Jesus kill his meal?
With his bare hands. He was the Son of
Strangulation.
God.
You think he'd murder the lamb or the cow?
Well, it's only murder if it's unjust.
But there was lamb sacrificed in the Bible, and Jesus said to follow the Old Testament. He said to eat the animals.
I encourage you
I'll-
to check
good
out
point.
this presentation, because they present the case that part of the reason Jesus was murdered was because he was speaking up against the animal sacrifice and the brutality of what the temple had become.
Are you serious,
blood-
Jack? Could you drop a link to that? Because I've never heard that theory presented before anywhere.
You know,
I didn't know
funny
that there
that
was
you
a vegan
should.
Jesus. I didn't
Just
know there
to
was a
add a
vegan
little.
Jesus.
Well,
I wanted to add credence to what Jack is saying here, just lightly. I saw a video earlier today. He actually posted it today. I don't know if any of you are familiar with History Valley with Jacob Behrman. but he posted a live stream either last night or last night, sorry. And it was about Jesus, whether or not he was a pacifist or like a rebellious, insurrectionist, basically. And he brought up this exact same point, which I have now forgotten.
Well, it was
Whatever you
about
guys were
Jesus
just
wasn't
saying.
a pacifist.
it was about
Ask
sacrifice.
Illuminati.
It was about sacrifice. And
Oh,
Sacrifice.
veganism. Yeah, he brought up the point about Jesus. He gave his opinion and said if I had to guess, Jesus was most likely a vegan.
well,
And he
But he
also
ate
brought
fish.
up the
How about
apparently
the story
like
of the fishes?
I was just gonna say that
Andy.
apparently in the story of the fishes, he was saying that with the bread and the fishes, the earliest mention of that story we have, anyone talking about the story, is from Eusebius, and it excludes the fact that they had fish and only says bread.
What?
So it does yeah, that's how I felt. I haven't actually checked
What?
Eusebius's
We're just
writings,
bread
but
eaters?
apparently Eusebius excludes the fish
Okay,
from that story.
hold on just one moment, though. I have a question for you, Andy. What about how they called Jesus a fisher of men? Then why would that be tied in? You
That's
get what I'm
allegory.
saying?
He was a fisher of men.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
He
yeah, but
brought-
I mean that he's not like using a fishing line and a hook.
But
You
he
know
was
what I mean? It's
also out on the
allegory.
boats with fishermen. There was the story of Jesus out on the fishing boats. So
Yeah.
I think he supported eating fish. I don't know about him eating lamb and other
Well,
stuff.
if you
but
think about it, he took people away from their fishing. If you really want to think, like as he walked through the town, he saw fishermen fishing at the boat, and he stopped them. Stop your fishing. I mean, he didn't say the word "stop your fishing," but stop what you're doing, catching and herding fish, and come with me, where we just eat bread
was
and
he
be
trying
happy.
to starve them, or I mean, he didn't want them to
Well,
catch fish.
He,
Some
he,
of us.
this is you got to keep in mind that Jesus was an apocalyptic Jew.
So he would close down Red Lobster then, if he was
Here.
alive today.
Let's play this
Lamb
real
is
quick.
delicious.
This is the trailer for that Christspiracy, and I dropped the link for the website.
Is there any threat or danger making a film like this?
Yeah, you just wait and see. You just wait and see. They will stop at nothing to keep this truth from getting out.
Is there a spiritual way to kill an animal? I'll put it this way. How would Jesus kill an animal?
Is there a peaceful way to kill an animal?
I think we need to wrap things up.
They come up with everything, right? Wow.
What's this thing about animals, guys? What's this thing about eating animals all the time? You want to know about more Buddhist stuff, don't you?
Honestly, I think there is a peaceful way to kill an animal. I think, like, in as brutal as this sounds, I think if you were to like completely vaporize an animal's head in like a millisecond, that would be peaceful.
But then you
know what
wouldn't
I mean?
be able
Like,
to eat the animal's head. Like, have you ever had head cheese of a cow as
That's
meat?
true.
It's really good stuff.
No, yeah, barbacoa tacos, actually, they use the goat's head meat.
Yeah, it's
Well,
delicious.
I think the point of the question originally, it made sense too. The idea of consuming such a violent diet, particularly with the way our food is created, these animals are in a state of fear and terror, pain, and the chemicals of those emotions are in the meat, right? And then it's brought to us on our plate. And so there's theories. People wonder, if we weren't so bloodlusting in our diet, would we start having more compassion for other human beings and vice versa?
You have a
So
point
looking
there,
at
Jack.
results
All
of,
kidding aside.
veganism or vegetarians, I mean, they don't look too peaceful. They actually look rather angry most of the time. Not always.
Well, a lot of vegans hate people. They're human haters. That's what keeps people away from a lot of veganism, because they want to exterminate humans to save the animals.
Well, no,
Some even
the main
say they
reason
hate
why, the main reason I agree with the vegan, I'm thinking about being vegan for a long time now, but it's hard. the main reason I think it's good is because it's for the environment. Because I heard that if everybody was vegan, you would use much less land, like half the land, so you won't have your biodiversity loss, your nature collapsing, and all that.
Sean, they kill millions of animals with these crops. A lot of the animals in the ground get killed when they're growing vegetables and stuff. But Jack, I just want to say that was very powerful what you shared, Jack, and it does get people thinking. I mean, when he's a spiritual way of killing an animal, I'm thank you for sharing that. I mean, that is eye-opening. I'd never seen that before, thought of it.
The documentary is actually, it's very well put together, and I enjoyed it. I encourage people to check it out.
What's it called?
Can you eat meat in heaven? Can you eat food in heaven?
Christspiracy.
Oh yeah,
Sean, you're getting a bit ridiculous, man. Can you eat meat in heaven? I'd love to have prime rib in heaven for eternity. I love it, but come on, man. What?
Just like infinite animals just being killed in heaven.
I mean, what, Sean?
They never spoil.
Sean?
Wait, you poop the food back out in heaven. It never becomes poop.
You just poop it down on earth. It rains down on earth. You're shitting on earth.
We can bring heaven to earth, and I actually believe that's our purpose, to bring the heavenly ideas and the heavenly ways into this physical reality. It makes sense to me. We're divine creatures. There's a spiritual aspect of us that's created to the absolute of intelligence. But we need to figure out how to listen, how to tune into it. I mean, Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, several of the geniuses of the past, they had explanations of how they tuned in. And it was, we've all got these capacities.
Tesla spoke about it all being frequency. I have a question, actually. Sean, your comment isn't that, or your question isn't as dumb as it first appeared. I'll give you credit. I wonder, though, if there are buildings in heaven, like temples, buildings, toilets, washrooms, swimming pools, if it's like a physical place, is what I mean. Is it spiritual and just the spirit, or do we have to eat in heaven and live kind of the way we do here? But I don't know.
Is there poop in heaven?
Can you get pregnant in heaven?
By King Stephen.
Are there sewers in heaven? Are there toilets? Are there showers? Is there food?
Actually, not to be gross, but when you pay attention to your body and your day, pooping feels pretty friggin' amazing. So if I'm not able to do that in heaven,
Dennis think so. Dennison enjoys it.
That's why God put your G. That's why God put your G.
Actually, I hate it. I hate the whole thing, like eating, pissing, pooping, sleeping. I hate it.
Yeah.
I wish if I could have an Android body where I didn't have to do any of that stupid shit and I could just go about my day.
Android Denizen.
Holy cow!
I'm not joking though. I agree
hate
with
that if
Denizen.
I'm like busy doing something, all of a sudden I start to feel. I start to feel sick. Why? Because I haven't had anything to eat. If I go 13 hours without drinking or eating, I feel like I'm gonna fucking die.
So do I.
I got shit to do, man. Are you kidding me? I don't have time for this shit.
Literally, sandwich pastrami on rye.
And it's not like I can continue to. It's not like pooping can just coexist with my lifestyle. Wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I have to stop doing that thing and go to a special place where only pooping is allowed and no one can see me poop. And then, I have to, and then you have to take care of that too. Like
in heaven, nobody's embarrassed about pooping in heaven. We all just poop right next to each other.
Everywhere in heaven.
It just disappears. As soon as you shit, it just disappears.
Actually, that's another thought I had about
India. That's India.
being a human, we really are. We're nasty. We smell. We create all this fecal and waste, and seriously.
Well,
And the
skin
smell
peels off,
when somebody
and then
farts in an
collects
elevator.
on everything around you is covered in human oil and skin.
Yeah.
We just don't care because it's ours.
It stinks though. You walk by a sewer or a manhole in the summertime and you get a whiff of that, and it's just like, damn. It's just like, it just smells, it's terrible. The sounds and smells of human is disgusting. Human is just, you're right, Jack.
That's why we invented religion.
Why would God design it this way?
Well, this is what gives me even more gratitude to be able to live today, because I can go take a shower. I got hot water at, just turn the knob, and we've got refrigeration. We've got plumbing. We don't have to worry about the piss pots under the bed and how to get that out of the house. I can only imagine what it was like back in the day.
Yeah, it's in 100 years from now, though. Elon's going to make poopless bodies. And y'all are going to think it's the sign of the devil, but I'm going to get me a poopless android.
Where you can just eat all matter. Just eat matter and turn it back into energy. Anything
Well, you don't even have
a chunk of aluminum.
You don't even have to eat.
Right. In my far out crazy ideas, I was thinking about the evolution of man, and if we unite together with spirit, maybe future generations won't even need the physical body. We'll just come into being as energy, and we'll consume light and knowledge.
What does your poop look like if you consume light? It'd be like electromagnetic poop.
Unicorn rainbows and stuff.
Yeah, like prism, like colors.
Yeah, prisms of shit.
We would be increasing our efficiency, so maybe we'd consume less and waste less as we ascend.
Yeah, that's probably true.
What if we shit out angels of light in heaven, and it's just like we're consuming, and then our waste product is actually something good rather than something smelly? And I don't know, like, it's a possibility. God's design. God works in mysterious ways, and he's all powerful. So anything's possible.
Maybe in heaven your poop is like, like peanut butter and jelly.
Even with that,
sorry, Jack.
Which is it?
In nature has a way of taking even the waste and turning it into something, because everything is for something and something is for something else.
Even our bodies fertilize trees, right, Jack? Like when our corpses rot, it fertilizes the ground, the soil for the worms, for the trees in a cemetery. Nothing goes to waste here in nature.
Oh, the poop isn't bad for Earth; it's bad for humans.
Well, it's fertilizer. We spray it on the fields, and they have these
not our own poop.
Yeah, our own
people
food.
use human. People use human shit.
They use human manure as well. Yeah.
Well, they do, but not as much now, because in the big cities they have to treat it in these
they're doing it,
and it's all mixed up.
USA and Europe. I've shown videos on my channel. They do use human.
No, they can't.
Thank you,
they
Steven.
can't because it's
stopped.
No, they can't. I'm talking about in big cities. I researched it. They can't because it's mixed with antibiotics and other chemicals.
Sorry, what
that's in the waste. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's the big cities. There's loads of drugs and stuff, and it's hard to get rid of it. So they have to.
Yes, but Sean, they heat it up and then they truck it out of the big cities, out into the country. I've shown video evidence of this. I've covered this on my channel. Like I spent hours covering this topic. They're using human manure. Go ahead.
That's a little troubling, because honestly, I thought that had stopped, and partly because of all the medications and crap that people are dumping.
Oh, it's in there, Jack. But they contain it and they superheat it, and they say that when they. This is what they claim, Jack.
You think it?
All the
You think it's real? They get it out. You think it's
I don't
safe?
think I don't think that works, but I think that's what they tell
Yeah.
us. They
Okay.
tell it's still in there. I bet if you tested the human who are on the field, there'd be big pharma, there'd be birth control and illicit drugs, like microscopic probably, all through it, because it all gets flushed, right? And shit pissed out, and
There's a lot going on in society that we don't always know about. What Sean was
it's
talking
gross.
about.
I don't support it.
Well, it seems, especially after the pandemic, the municipalities and different communities, they're putting these testing stations in the waste treatment centers, specifically to test the waste of the local community. What type of drugs are in there? What is their biology like?
I hope they don't test the chatters here. It'd be off the charts with some of them. The drugs are on. I mean, who knows what would come out on those results?
These are interesting times, guys.
Some of these characters, I think, are on a lot of different things.
It seems that way. But you know what? Life is a mystery. It can be real overwhelming at times. It can be, it can be confusing and disheartening in many ways. But if we can keep the fire within us, stay motivated, have a purpose, have a goal, have a realization that, things might look tough today, things might not look good today, but with faith, with some faith and intention, perseverance, that's the word I was trying to think, we can get through things. And especially if we unite together. I truly trust this is the message from God for mankind. There's a spiritual awakening happening all around the world. There's a spiritual revival, a realization. People are acknowledging, hey, there's some things that are wrong. It's time for us to change. And if
United we stand, right? United we stand. If we stand together, that's the power, right? That's what Jack's saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And I think that's the message from God. I believe we were created. The idea of mankind is that it would be a world filled with conscious human beings who really cared about nature, cared about each other, cared about God and life. Because if we work together with compassion and care, and we're honest, right? Transparency in the government, and we stop enabling these corrupt corporations, we can totally transform this world. Mankind has learned enough. What's that?
We could boycott them. I mean, that's the thing the Irish invented, boycotting.
Boycott
don't buy.
You invented
boycott
that?
the products. Yeah, it was the Irish that invented it.
You invented that there, over there. Wow.
Who? Say again?
I said you invented boycotting in Ireland?
Yeah, it was the Irish. There was a landlord called something Boycott, and the Irish decided to boycott him because he was treating them badly.
Oh, well, boycott is all close to Talcott. It's Talcott Tuesday, and boycott. I mean, there's a connection there, Sean.
We do. Right. All of us have a rebellious nature to us. It can get out of hand. It can get out of control. We can rebel against the things that are good for us, including peace, including reforms. I used to fight against the idea that I needed to change. The facts were overwhelming. Once I did face the mountain of change I needed to do, once I started, it got easier. And I believe this is what can work for America as well. If we can get America, the population and the leadership to pause, reevaluate, and admit, hey, there's some things we need to change. We can. Every one of us.
We
Go
can
ahead.
do it. We can do more than boycott them. We can Talcott them. We
That's the
can
goal.
Talcott them. Yes, and that's what people, they got to get on board with the message here. If they could pay attention a little bit more in the chat, and the guests here are doing well, especially today. It's been very good. I think everybody's been really good today about paying attention. There's been humorous moments, of course, but we always get
Of
back on
course.
track. I think it's awesome. Today's an awesome show.
I agree. I actually think the live streams on this channel over the last week or so, I've felt a change and a little growth. I do have hope. This morning I didn't. I said that earlier.
Especially
This
when
morning
Tommy's
I
not
lost
here.
hope again. What's
And
that?
I don't hate the guy. I said, especially when Tommy's not here. I don't hate him at all, but he can be very disruptive and kind of take over. And then it kind of derails into just yelling and shouting and, the faggot stuff and, all the name calling and all that kind of stuff. And then there's no discussion. He kind of takes over the show and yells and disrupts. And I don't hate the guy. I just want to put that out there for people to think, oh, you hate him. I don't hate Tommy, but he's got to mellow out, chill out a bit.
Well, also, I wanted to add, he was kind of being dishonest yesterday about some things that I was saying. I don't know if it's just maybe
Oh,
he's
Tommy
not as,
T-Jack was?
yeah, or maybe not. I shouldn't say dishonest. He could be misinformed, I guess.
He might have
But
been on the
some
meth again. He
couple things he
sometimes
said
takes
weren't
stuff.
true.
Yeah, he takes stuff and lies sometimes. He's lied about not crying and stuff like that, and he's been caught in lies. And I'm not being a snafu by saying that, but Tommy, you have some work to do on yourself. And I wish you the best if he's tuned in. I don't know if he's listening, but he said he's not coming here anymore. Tommy, I hope you clean yourself up and get on the right track. I really do.
Why did he say he wasn't coming here anymore?
He said that. He said he's not coming to Jack's because Jack, he said, I don't know. He's against Jack, basically.
He's been against Jack for 3 years, though.
He's quite
Wondering
aggressive.
what's changed.
He's ready to give up.
losing.
Really?
He's not ready to surrender yet, but he's ready to give up. So
Interesting.
eventually he'll come around. And
I've
this is
noticed
what
that there's a whole group of Christians that seem to be in the same little wing that he's in, where it's like they use the stories in the Bible and the biblical conversations as a way for them to like freak the fuck out on people and be abusive as fuck. And
Yep.
and they even twist the words of Jesus sometimes, and they'll there's like dozens of examples of Jesus talking about the importance of love and peace and respect, and then there's one example of him flipping over tables and whipping people, and they're like, look at Jesus said we can be motherfuckers. It's like, no, you are you're
Yeah.
twisting you're twisting what Jesus was so that you can be a piece of shit.
Well, I
That's
heard
what-
somewhere that Jesus mentioned about hell the most in the Bible. So he's not like
No.
that peaceful.
No. I don't think
I
that
heard that
word's
somewhere.
in the Bible. If you do a Bible
It's
search
not.
on Google,
They referred to it as Gehenna, and Gehenna was actually a valley about 5 miles south of Jerusalem, and it was an actual physical place where the Amorites were performing Molech sacrifice by killing their firstborn son by burning them alive. And so, in my opinion, the concept of hell was the combination of the Jewish concept of Sheol, the Egyptian concept of the lake of fire, and then the literal valley of Gehenna where they were burning children alive.
Hades,
and they kind of, yeah, maybe that could be. 'Cause
Tartar.
There was big
all
time
that,
Greek
I think it's
influence
all
there.
combined.
Yeah,
I think
it
all
might be deeper
combined.
than that. But yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
a fusion of a bunch of different concepts.
Yeah, fusion is a good word. Exactly. I think you're right. You said about people twisting the words of Jesus. I can honestly say this. If it turned out that Jesus was a midget, I'd still respect him for the way that he lived. If he was a
Yeah, he
total
was an
midget,
awesome guy. He
yeah,
was an awesome guy.
he was
And not
loving.
only
He
do
lit-
his values like ring out today, but we have to like also consider how fucking crazy it must have been for someone to be saying the things that he said during his lifetime. I mean, that's
in those times.
brave isn't the
Yeah.
word. I mean, that is fucking insane almost.
Yeah, well, he had brass balls of steel, whether he was tall or short, black or white. It doesn't matter how he looked. The guy was walking around with softballs made of brass, right? So that's what matters. The guy was teaching love in those times, in that era, dominated by Romans, and even the Jews hated him, the Pharisees or whatever. They all hated the guy. So to spread that message, it takes courage. That has to be respected. I don't care what he looked like. That doesn't matter to me, his appearance.
The messages, those are the key. Earlier in my years, when I rejected religion and Christianity, I guess I had a mindset similar to Donald Trump, right? I was like, well, he died, so how great was it? You know? But this thought I had recently, maybe someone else pointed it out, but it seems the Christian faith has focused on the death of Jesus less than the life. Because
it was excluded, wasn't it?
What's that?
Isn't Jesus's life mostly missing from the Bible?
Yes. Well,
No,
that too.
there's missing
That
years.
too.
There's missing years.
Missing
Jesus.
years. Missing years.
There's the missing years.
Yeah.
But the death is the focus. You're right, Jack. Especially with Catholicism, they focus on Easter as the most important. The crucifixion and death and resurrection is, for Catholics, the most important part of Jesus' life, because they say that's what gave us salvation and redeemed us. So it is a death cult in that sense. That's why they have the big cross of Jesus tortured. I hated seeing that as a kid, the front of the church.
Too.
Huge, like bigger than life.
I don't imagine Jesus would want to see that shit either.
Right?
I know.
If he's looking down from heaven, he's like, they're still wearing crosses, Dad. They don't get it.
Yeah.
This is what they did to me, and they're worshiping this. This is the part of my life that they love the most, is seeing me tortured on a cross. I mean, it's stupid. It's stupid.
Yo, what's up, T?
To me, in my own life, I started trying to figure out, where is God? What is God? What rules over me? If I'm honest, what rules over me is my ignorance and my knowledge. And that's not always a clear line. But in that aspect, I went to the concept. God is that which offers forth what is real. And from what is real comes the truth. So to know God's will, I must know the truth. And then with Jesus, everything he did was love. That's what he walked the walk. He, to me, he is the model of man. He's a warrior, willing to take a beating, still maintain his cool composure, and still willing to move forward because the task is at hand.
It should be.
Yeah, you do kind of cop him. You do cop him quite well, because you get a lot of haters, and you act very respectful.
He does, but why did the religion, Jack, turn from a religion of love? Jesus was the example of love. How did it get twisted into worshiping the crucifixion, death, torture? Because that, like, it's inverted. It's messed up somehow. It should be a religion of love.
It's also to be pointed out that aside from Jesus wanting love and peace, if we just set, and I'm not saying reject, but if we just set what Paul said aside for a minute and just examine Jesus's words themselves, Jesus seemed to be very clear about wanting Torah observance of all of the laws until all is accomplished. And when you think about what all is accomplished means, that would include Judgment Day, in my opinion. So if Judgment Day hasn't happened, which in my opinion, Judgment Day either did or was supposed to happen 2,000 years ago, just after the life of Christ. But if Judgment Day, in your opinion, or anyone's opinion, is supposed to happen still, then that means that not everything has been accomplished and the laws of the Torah are still in effect.
What, Andy, what if it already happened, let's say, a month after Jesus' resurrection and his return? And then if
That's
it's
what he
over,
said.
maybe, but what I'm getting at is maybe the rulers use that to say, to trick us, to say it hasn't happened yet, and they have people waiting for something that's already happened to
Ooh.
control. You know what I
You
mean?
know, it sounds conspiratorial what you're saying on the surface, but it really isn't that conspiratorial, because Jesus himself did say in two different types of phrasing that he would return before the deaths of his disciples. He said, before,
Yes.
this generation will not pass,
So
and
it should
surely
have happened way back.
some of you standing here will not taste death. When he was
Yes.
specifically referring to Judgment Day. So he was saying that they'll still be alive. Like, this is coming soon. And that's why he was saying, sell everything you have and all of this other stuff.
And it
Like, he
says
was
directly in
basically
the
leading up
gospel,
to the apocalypse.
I will be coming soon, returning soon. So it's probably already happened 2,000 years ago, and they
I thought
deceived people, these rulers, right, Jack? Do you
Isn't that
think
what the full
Go ahead.
full preterists believe in? The full preterists, I think.
well, they think that 70 AD was the second coming. Yeah, in a sense, you could say preterists do believe that.
I'm of the theory, yes, and many interpretations can be true. They don't necessarily override or conflict with each other, because I'm convinced that time as we know it is an illusion. Only God is real, and that which is real is eternal and unchanging. And that's not us. We're just temporary aspects of consciousness. So I'm of the theory that there is a revelation happening. More and more of the lies are getting exposed. There's a lot of, I think we're the generation. Jesus came and brought the truth with grace to the world so that the world might know grace and truth and love. And then I think we're the generation. We're here to face the beasts, because the beasts have risen, and the beasts are only empowered through man's belief. The governments and the banks and the corporations only have power because people go along and they play along with this nonsense of wealth and authority. I used to play those games. I don't play those games anymore. I've given myself to God. So with God, I walk with love. And if I'm right, if this is the time, then the revelation is happening. The story of Jesus is for us all. We can do the voluntary baptism and commit ourselves to God, or we'll live with the ego and until we die. But the first death, killing the ego, uniting yourself with the eternal essence of Christ, Jesus, to walk with love, to walk with God. It seems to me the only logical conclusion. Any more?
It's happening now. It's all happening now. We're living it out. We're living history right now. You mentioned Trump a few moments ago, Jack. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Let you jump
Go
in
ahead.
with that. I was just going to say that people worship. It's a strange time we live in, because some people worship Trump. He has that gold palace penthouse in New York City, and everything's gold, including the toilet, I think. Everything is gold in there. And people are in redneck America, in the Midwest and South and wherever, are worshiping this billionaire that has a gold palace. It's weird. It's just, it doesn't add up. I don't know why these rednecks, like, I'm not going to mention any names here, but there's people
I know exactly why.
that
I know
love Trump.
exactly why.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's because there's an underlying level, and not all of them, and maybe this is a controversial take, but of the rednecks that I've met, it seems like the more redneck they get, the more like stereotypical redneck a person gets, in general, the more underlying racial tension there is inside of those people, and not always. There's huge exemptions to this. I've met some really awesome rednecks, but like I think
Trump
that
is the
Trump
worst
has picked up
racist.
on that. Like he picked up on that and is using that. You know what I mean? He's
you
using
think they are-
he's pretending to be a Christian and pretending to be, right wing and all of this stuff.
Are
Like,
you
it's
saying
just a
Trump
big
is
act.
playing them like fools, playing the rednecks? Is he playing them like fools
Absolutely.
then?
There's way
And
better
yeah.
racists out there.
Do you think these rednecks
Trump
hate
is a
black
terrible
Jesus?
racist. He has women in other minorities in his
But do you think these
running his
rednecks hate black
companies.
Jesus? They're that racist,
Yeah.
and this is a cover. Their Trump worship is a cover for the racism. Is that what you're getting at?
No,
Is that
it's not
part
a
of it?
cover. No, I don't even think it's a cover or like that racism necessarily even is a key factor, like, or not a key
Okay.
factor, but like a key component. But I think that like the racism, how am I trying to say this? Like I don't think it's used as a tool now, but I think that the underlying racism is something that if Trump, I think he probably noticed that if he were to sort of make these like half-assed racist comments where he's right on the edge, not actually quite saying it, so he doesn't have, like that people are going to be like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing. Because
What I'm
from my
getting at-
experience, I have a lot of family members that fall into this sort of redneck category, and I see them around all of their friends, and I've observed for a lot of years, and it's kind of just like an unwritten code to like being racism is like part of redneck behavior.
And that's what I'm trying to understand, Andy, is if they're working class, fairly poor people, what are they doing worshiping a billionaire beyond the racism aspect?
I know.
I don't understand that part of it. They're
so
worshiping this billionaire.
That's the American way.
It goes against everything Jesus said too. It's like anti-Jesus too. Like Jesus was like he said like, it's easier to fit a camel through the eye of a needle than it is for a wealthy man to get into heaven. He was saying, give away all of your wealth. And here we are, a nation of Christians worshiping one of the richest people in the world, who's clearly
we have poor rednecks
fucking
in
them,
Trump t-shirts,
fucking them right in their ass and staring them in the eyes and smiling at him as he does it.
And we're still continuing, right? There's a lot of people doing a lot of foolish things, and that is true. But each of us, every single day, we get a choice. What are we going to do? I chose for myself to dream big, believe big. I mean, the question I started with today is if you had everything you needed, to do anything you wanted, what would you choose to do? I assume that's probably how Donald Trump's been living.
I would make all humans live eternally in the physical form.
I would ban
I'm
Trump
already working
t-shirts.
on it.
I'm
I'm already working on doing the thing I would do.
I'm working on it too.
Me as well. My hope is to help others discover their purpose. When I started getting into self-development and the idea of coaching, I have the heart of an activist. My entire reason for wanting to become a life coach was to help others figure out their greater purpose. Because if we got a bunch of people alive who want to change the world, guess what? We're going to change it. But if we got a bunch of people who just want to sit around and complain, well, other people are going to change it. I used to complain more than I thought. Most of my thoughts were complaints. But we're living at a time, guys, sincerely, there's a realization, a revelation happening. I believe the day of our Lord that was spoke about, I believe that God has given mankind collectively some input, that when we unite and we insist, we want the truth. We want the truth to reign supreme. The truth matters to us. well, we'll stop worshiping the celebrity, the authority, and the wealthy. Well,
what's the best method to find the truth? Is it the scientific method, the philosophical method? There's loads of ways to find the truth. I mean, there's different types of truth, I guess. There's
Different
the
ways
artistic
for
truth.
different people, brother. Well, there's different paths for different people, brother.
and what I'm talking about is a specific combined effort consciously where the men and women in the United States government work together with the other state leaders, and we have a come to Jesus moment. We have some disclosures happening, you know, some real being discussed, not this fantasy that Donald Trump has been spewing.
That brings up a good point. There's a lot of passages in the Bible, Jack, that speak about not having idols, false idols, worshiping them as gods, and I think that's what people are doing with Trump. That's the psychology that I notice here.
With the almighty dollar. Trump as well. I won't deny that. There's plenty that have placed him on a pedestal.
They're wearing T-shirts with his face on it saying "God bless Trump," and it's crazy, man. It's false idol worship. That's what it is.
We're into that.
You're absolutely right.
It's God revealing to us what is true. We're seeing what is true. We're seeing what is real. So the next question is, what are we going to do?
It makes me wonder why a majority of Christians are behind someone like this. It makes me think that if God is real and Jesus was truly the Son of God and what the Bible says is true, then people have Christianity fucked up, because look at what Christians are following.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is a sign from God. It was foretold, as I understand, that the churches, many of the churches would be deceived. It's happened. People don't.
Well, you think he's the Antichrist?
What's that?
Antichrist? The Antichrist? Is he the Antichrist? I don't. Is that in Revelations?
The Antichrist was Emperor Nero.
Yeah.
Or Illuminati. It might be Illuminati.
I actually think what could be said for a singular representation, I don't know. Donald Trump could be, Martin Luther pointed out the Pope possibly in the Vatican, and then there's the evidence supporting Nero already was. But I think it's the ego within us. Even in the scripture, it talks about how the Antichrist was already in the world. And the Antichrist is that which is opposing Christ and, you know, pretends to be godlike, Christ-like. That's every human being when they're selfish.
He's also supposed to be the one who brings economic stability and world peace.
Right? Well, that is the path Donald Trump appears to be going. So could it be him?
Could it be Jack?
Well, what if I'm a symbol of the return and Donald Trump is, he and I are opposites.
I think that's the same exact thing the Antichrist would say to me, though, Jack.
How
to
so?
try to fool me.
No, I think it's Trump. I do. I mean, it's one of the possibilities, but it would make sense if God, in this crazy story of possible what ifs, God takes some schmuck like me, you know, served the military, grew in education about organized labor and history, and then find the reason for peace. And so if I work with Donald Trump, he would fulfill the prophecies, but it would be not a defeat. It wouldn't be like a violent warring defeat of the Antichrist. It would be a transmutation. That's how God works. God takes and transmutes, creating out of nothing.
Oh, you know, like, now when I think about it, he's supposed to rebuild the Jewish temple and commit the abomination of desolation too.
What if
talking about Daniel?
What if God has given us the will and the ability? What if we can change it? What if we can avoid some of the worst that was prophesied? I mean, I think we've got the signs are here. It's time to change things.
Well, this sounds kind of scary. This sounds like the end of the world shit right now. So you're thinking that you might be chosen or something, or predestined to try and save the planet or something, to stop the end of the world or something?
Sean, I don't know what's going on. I don't know about destiny. I just know I'm doing the best I can. But that includes, I have devoted myself. My goal is to follow in the way that I understand of Jesus. And I understand Jesus to be a man of peace, the Prince of Peace, in fact. And so if I've taken what the Christians talk about, and I've really incorporated it. I've been more and more recently too. I've been living as though Jesus is already here. He is the King. He's the King of this world. There's no nations. There's just his children, and that is us.
What about Muhammad? Like, is Muhammad in heaven?
Nah. It's a warmonger.
Again, I'm pretty sure that this is just a dream. So anyone not here is just not in the dream. They're maybe behind the dream or within it, but we're just dreaming each day. And then we tell our story, tell ourselves stories about what we did or what others said, but it's just stories. And we're here to create.
Do you believe in like multiverse and like parallel universes and
we're all
that
stories. God, we're in God's story.
I'm convinced that all things are possible. And if that all things are possible, that could mean multiple dimensions, multiple timelines, but I am here and now. So I focus on this timeline, this reality. What do I know? What can I do with what I've known?
It's all happening now, present moment.
And this, Jeeps, the end of the world is the beginning. This will be the beginning of the new kingdom on earth, where we're not ruled by budgets and authority, where we cooperate and truth reigns supreme.
Heaven on earth. That's prophesied. Prophesized. Heaven on earth. It says that that's coming.
I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at someone's comment.
All right.
Some of the comments are just so funny.
Nothing but a J thing.
But do you actually think that they're going to build back the temple in Jerusalem and there's going to be a huge war? That's the stuff that's going on in Revelations, isn't it?
I think it's happening.
Didn't he already do that by moving
now,
the embassy back to Jerusalem and then giving them a bunch of guns and money to blow up Palestinians?
It's
Isn't
all
that the
according
human
to plan.
sacrifice?
It's following the script. Sorry, it's following the script.
And I saw reports again today about what's happening in Palestine. Guys, this is like, it's World War II atrocities that's happening in our modern times. And something's got to change, guys. And if we want a better world, it's going to happen through better people. If we want a better community, the people need to be better. You want a better family, the people need to be better. You want a better life? Commit to being better.
Yes.
I would like to point out, though, that these these wars are a result of the Bible and the Quran.
Your volume's a bit muffled.
It is. I think he said
And
the words are the result of the Bible and Quran. And that may be partially true, but we've got to be honest. These wars are the result of human beings' choices.
And greed, money, right,
Well,
Jack?
if the Quran says what it says, they're never going to change their views. They're always going to think that killing people that oppose Islam is a holy act, and that's just
The
the way it's
Muzzies.
going to be. Yeah, and to be fair, a lot of Jews have sort of the same views.
Right.
Not that it's biblical.
Yes.
How do we reach them then, Andy? How do we reach them?
I think that my views on this are controversial, and I think that religion just needs to be religion needs to change, or religion needs to go, because it's causing little children to suffer.
Andy, I actually agree. And this is one of the things I think it's time for our society to collectively reevaluate. And because we've created this world, America's the example. While there's good intentions behind the idea of the melting pot, allowing everyone to believe anything they want has created a nation that believes in liars. If we didn't believe in liars, we wouldn't have these clowns in Congress and the White House right now. But since the world is confused and the way that it is, Andy, when I was in my own personal education, I looked at a variety of different faiths. I tried to understand how did these evolve into what we've got today. And there's consistent answers and consistent truth within each of the faiths and the religion. But if we take what Sean keeps pointing at, the scientific method, if we use an objective method of analysis and we look at the messages and the meanings, we look at what is there, we can discard what is not healthy, and we can honor these spiritual teachers for the truth that they brought.
I agree. I think that's all the Bible is intended for. Well, maybe not originally, but I think that's all it's useful for.
I have an image backstage
About
on the
human
melting
morality.
pot, Jack. It might be helpful.
The hoax of America as a melting pot?
Yes.
See, the image of the United States as a melting pot of many different cultures was popularized by the 1908 play, The Melting Pot, by Israel Zangwill. Zangwill came from a family of Jewish immigrants from Tsarist Russia. He was a dedicated advocate for Zionism and territorialism, a Jewish political movement calling for the creation of an Israeli state in Palestine. Fascinating. Today, we are all taught that America has forever been a mix of different cultures, despite the fact that it remained 90% ethnically and culturally European until the Immigration Act of 1965, which was passed under the promise that it would not change the cultural and racial makeup of the United States. Interesting.
Well, I would love in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole planet becomes like one giant country or something.
It's inevitable.
Did you say we'd love that, Sean? You want it to be one country, one
Well, like
world
the whole
order?
planet be like one world government kind of thing, well, like a UN thing.
You want one UN ruling us all, United Nations?
Well,
Sean, yeah, to stop wars.
I lean towards a unified world as well, and that would mean, some sort of representative body to coordinate through all the different lands.
I think that we need to get away from the idea of representation, and that the people need to represent individual. Like, I think that every person, in my opinion, I think that every person should have equal power, like an actual physical, a numerical percentage of the population. They should all have an equal split or it should be based on your qualifications. Like how qualified are you to vote on this right now? How well educated are you on policy? You know, what kind of IQ do you got? Like things like that.
I don't know. I'm a little mixed idea on what you said, because I'm for proper representation and eliminating.
It just doesn't exist though. It's just not out there.
Eliminating
money has. Oh, sorry.
And eliminating governance. Now, proper representation means aligning with the truth.
Yeah, we have to keep money away from it, or it'll never be honored if there's money involved. And right now, there's lobbyists can walk in and pay people millions of dollars in donations, and now there's fucking money involved.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's protected by the criminal courts, and we continue going along saying there's nothing we can do. But oversight, public oversight, and true transparency will knock that crap off. We start holding these elected officials accountable for their choices and their votes. It means that we need to we could do things a lot of different ways, but I'm of trying things formally. Rather than visiting these men and women at their houses, I'd like to visit them at their workplace.
Yeah, I would agree with you. But I also think I wanted to emphasize how important I think that voter qualification should be. Because, I mean, we have some fucking idiots right now controlling the vote. And it's like, if these people, maybe if they could just understand fully the issues that they're even voting on.
And the voters are dumb too.
Yeah, they're dumb, and they have no right to control the future of our country. You guys don't even.
It's like that movie. What's that movie called there? From 2006, where everybody's getting stupider.
Idiocracy.
Yeah.
Well, America was the experiment, right? Trying this new democratic republic. One of the things I think that is shown is democracy does not work with a miseducated population. We're heading to what you're saying. People, it doesn't matter people's education or beliefs, they gotta vote. And even if they've got nothing to do with the issue, their vote counts just like everyone else's. So I get what you're saying.
I would change that. I would remove the votes for them. The ones that don't contribute, don't own land, are stupid. Sorry. Go.
We could literally do it like that TV game show. I don't remember what it's called, where everyone would ring in and vote for their favorite star. We could literally do that with the technology and the government, but we've got this pageantry going on where they're all important and everyone else they've got their own important lives and no one's paying attention. That's not true.
Maybe you could make it a system to where you get points, the better you score on your knowledge of foreign policies and things
Chinese
like that.
Social credit score. They're doing that in China. They're doing
Not social credit, but just like your vote counts for 5 points if you get a really good score, and you understand everything thoroughly, you get 5 points. And if you don't understand anything at all, and in my opinion shouldn't even be allowed to vote, you get 1 point or something, and the amount your vote counts.
Should we euthanize them? The ones that
No, not euthanize. Maybe make it mandatory. If you score really low on the qualification test, make it a mandatory class or something. Or a free paid class.
Vaporize them.
I really think we need to look at it what it is. What's a vote? Someone casting an opinion. And so the opinions are counted and the data is collected, and allegedly the vote makes a difference. But does it? I mean, the systems are broken. We know that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they were rigged. I mean, Trump said they were rigged, but I think they were all pretty well counted for.
Yeah, that's conspiracy.
It's rigged at every single level.
What's
And it's the
rigged?
levels you're not thinking about that are the most impactful and important.
Yep. When we're told who we can choose from, you got to consider your choices have already been limited.
Yeah.
And when you limit options for other people, are those people really free? No, we got the illusion of freedom. We're slaves to this society. Everyone is. And we've got to wake up. It's up to us to set the world free.
And even if you're popular and successful, if you have ideas that are not acceptable by the media and the parties, you're not even allowed to participate in the process.
Because we live
the freedom in America is an illusion. Just for anybody out there who hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
We are not a free country. If you think you're free, you're retarded. I don't mean that to hurt your feelings.
Retarded.
Well, it's a paradox, because if you believe in the worldly ways, if you buy into the systems, you are a slave. But if you recognize who you are a sovereign, divine, God created man, woman, child of God. That's who you are. When you realize that and recognize the truth of who you are free. You are the expression of freedom, confined only by a human form.
I am sovereign.
We are.
Well, no, you're a slave to nature, so you're not fully. I mean,
No, I'm not.
If you're really free, you'd be in the wild.
What?
You'd have to still do stuff. I mean, freedom is subjective. I mean, I could say that going to heaven is freedom, like, you know what I mean?
Freedom is a bumper sticker.
He's
There is
trolling.
like there's so little freedom in this life, in this existence.
Wait, please. We only exist in the momentary expression, right?
You're trolling, Jack.
In this moment, I have no limits. I am free. Are you not?
See, you can't say everything, like,
I am free in the moment. Jack is right. I don't know what you guys are.
If I started to create a list of limitations that I have right now, I could keep going for the next 3 hours.
Okay,
straight.
you could, but then look at them objectively. And how many are just thought paradigms? They're just ideas that really don't have much substance or value if given consideration. Because you're right. We can come up with all sorts of limits. We can come up with all sorts of fears and all sorts of problems. There's another way, though.
Jack, I have an image backstage related to Trump.
See. Oh, stop.
What was in the chat? It was one of your mods, and I think it is relevant. I'll just say this. Some people are biased to the degree that they will pedestalize a politician, a billionaire, make them a false idol, and we got to get out of that habit, like as a society. And I think there is a message there that bias can lead people to extreme attachments, let's say, to billionaires that don't give a shit about us as people or as struggling or whatever's going on.
I worship Bill Gates.
Their
What?
entire
Bill Gates is my
identity, their entire identity is based upon a foundation in which includes billionaire worship.
Idol worship, which is what it is, right?
Their communities, neighborhoods, and society and institutions are programmed
And
that
wardrobe
way
as well.
before they're
Their wardrobe.
born, and then as soon as they're born, they're indoctrinated into it, and it doesn't stop. Your entire life is a nonstop bombardment of programming, so that you keep your identity within the framework of that which includes billionaire worship.
Jack wants to jump in here.
It's if you look at thank you. If you look at it, well, you can look at it however you want, but in the ideas of duality and in the ideas of serving Christ, love and God and life, or serving the darkness, oppression, war, battles. It's all about who are we following? Who are we giving power to? In the world, we live in this world of fantasy and illusions. You've got to be asleep at the wheel to buy into the American dream. The American dream of work hard, be loyal to your employer, pay your taxes, and you're going to have a nice life. It's a bunch of rubbish created to put people to sleep. It's for the dishonest. So we become slaves to routines. We become slaves to our battles, slaves to our habits, to our lusts. But we don't have to be. We can become free of everything. This is what my life has shown me. I'm confident I've learned these things for a reason. What I'm supposed to do with what I've learned, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I have a question for Denizen. I didn't want to ask earlier because I knew Jack wanted to jump in once he had his finger pointed up. But Denizen, would you ever wear someone else's face, another man's face, on a shirt or poster, or idolize or worship? What do you think that indicates some kind of mental weakness with these people that do worship someone and wear their face on their clothing? And like, do you think that? What do you think of that? Like, would you ever do that?
No, we are not the same. I won't even wear like my favorite bands.
Yeah.
Well, people do that for everything, like celebrities, God.
What do you think it
religion
indicates, though? What do you think that indicates? That
well,
they're willing to wear?
It's just a good example. Like it could be a good example. I mean, most celebrities or rich people are good examples usually, but not always. Like, you know what I mean?
No, they're not. Rich people are not good examples. Let Jack jump in. He has some thoughts.
It's okay. Sorry. I lost where I was. I keep thinking about the future, about what we can do. Because this world doesn't have to stay the same. The international banking scheme, we got to accept. It's up to us to change this. And us includes the men and women in Congress. They're the ones who can actually do it. But a world without secrets, a world where the truth reigns supreme, where opinions don't matter as much.
Maybe we should have like a world AI government and like a cryptocurrency world government currency with like Bitcoin or something. And then we have AI running the world. And then we just relax and talk shit 24/7.
I don't want that.
We don't have AI.
I'd really love for you to try and think about what I'm saying, because you're the one who's got different ideas.
But I'm talking about like
Jack.
AI and like world government currency, like cryptocurrency. You know what I mean?
Well, what I suggest is that if part of the reason I want to get before Congress is to point out what I see is pretty obvious. Our entire economic structure is built on trauma. So we've got a lot of traumatized men and women in America and abroad as a result of corporate greed and poor management. So we can fix poor management, and then through better management, we can address the corporate greed and get some of our fellow citizens under control. Crap. I forgot where I was going to go with that. But I know that we can. I know the truth will set us free. If we can unite together with the truth, we have everything we need. That was the question I asked today. And I'd love for people to think about it. If you're honest with yourself, you have everything you need to be you. So then what do you want to do?
Yeah, but what if the truth can be subjective to different people's opinions. I mean, I think the best way to find the truth is using scientific method or logic, philosophy stuff. Because religions differ. So do you think religions will be able to all agree with you, or different political views will agree with you to find peace? There'll be different ways to find peace, you know what I mean?
Anyone who looks for the truth can find the truth. Anyone who looks for objections can find objections. I believe that the rewards of knowing the truth, of being able to find reconciliation and agreement, I believe those are pretty important, and they bring rewards, because we're not in this life alone. We've created a society where everyone is, it's okay, we'll just agree to disagree, and then disagreements remain unresolved. And then that means likely one, if not both, are walking away with false information. So people have accepted the state of confusion. And I used to do that. But then I decided my life is more important to me. I will not stay confused. I need to know.
Well, I'm going to actually research what's the best way to find the truth on AI. I'll ask AI, because I think AI will probably... I heard it's like replacing a lot of jobs and stuff. So it might... I heard Bill Gates saying that it might get rid of a lot of jobs soon or something.
Well, yeah. Technology, if in the pursuit of profits, those with capital are going to invest in reducing their reoccurring expenses. Labor is one of the greatest expenses of a business. So yeah, technology and automation, mechanization, it's going to replace a lot of jobs. But here's what I believe.
Replaces all of them.
I believe, well, I'm pro-labor, I'm pro-workers. I believe every worker deserves dignity and safety in the jobs they perform. So I'm pro-labor, but I'm anti-work. I think with cooperation, we could eliminate the need of a lot of jobs and allow people to explore their creativity, see what arts could be.
Yes, I love art. I love art. Amen. I'm anti-work as well, I've got to say, but I've been lucky enough to have servants, as people know, and people doing grocery shopping for me and all my chores, and I just pay them. But I'm anti-work as well. I'm on board with that.
That would be nice. I could imagine that.
Would you like to have universal basic income when AI takes all our jobs?
I want to overcome the money reliance. We can overcome the dependency on money. It's just a tool.
Would we have to pay AI to be the government, or what do you mean, Sean?
No, because you can design their brain. You know what I mean? Like you
can tip AI. I tip the people that do my grocery shopping and deliver it for me, and delivery drivers. I try to tip very well. Some of them say you're my best customer. You're the best tipper ever. But Sean, are you serious, or are you trolling us? You want AI to rule the world? Is that are you being real with us? Or are you trolling?
Well, no,
I'm right there with him.
I'm not an expert on AI, but from what I'm hearing, it looks kind of big deal. The companies are investing a lot in it, so
we
might
don't
take
have
our jobs.
AI. The thing you're talking about is a marketing term for a language model. There's no such thing as artificial intelligence.
Well, no, what I'm talking about is...
If there is, there's been no public exposure to it, so none of us have ever seen it.
I personally don't see the difference.
Even going to AI, it's another source of information, right?
The intelligence part, that would be the difference.
But all intelligence is really just a network of information that you compile depending on what set of circumstances that you're being exposed to, and that's really all a language model is.
But it isn't.
Intelligence. It just doesn't have autonomy.
Intelligence is literally being able to independently interpret that network of information. It's the opposite of what you're saying. All a language model is an interactive database, but it can't.
Yeah, I know, but it is interpreting though. Like that's exactly what we do with our brain. It's no different.
It's not interpreting anything.
It's following. It's
But
following.
by the same, yeah, I would say by the same logic, you would have to conclude that neither are we, and it's just an illusion.
That's just an assertion.
Okay. I mean, I think that it works the exact same way.
I think that's because you don't know how it works.
And how about this question of the truth? I encourage people, how do you know personally? How do you know that the words you're saying are true? How do you know when you're being honest and not being honest? I allege the truth is, and then we identify the truth through a resonance, through our senses. Welcome, old Joe.
Hello,
Yeah,
sir.
I
How are
agree.
things today?
Sup?
Hello, sir.
Yo.
Hello. I was just listening to what Jack was saying about identifying truth, and I was finding it very interesting. I was hoping he would continue along that line of thought.
Yo, old Joe. Hello. Sorry I'm late. I just got back.
Hello, King Stephen. How are you?
Hello, hello. Shady character, old Joe. He's
More
got
than
that written.
shady, but I've downgraded a little bit. I want to be taken.
He's got
somewhat
that beneath his name, though, a shady character.
I put that there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you did. Well, it's good to see you.
Regarding the truth, in my concept as well, like I said, the truth is the controlling force. It's that which I seek to know. So I've heard others explain it too, that the truth is a feeling. Hank has been on the panel. He's pointed that out. And I agree that truth is kind of a feeling. We feel what is honest. And our bodies are real sensitive detectors. We're receivers and transmitters. And the truth somehow emerges from within us. Yesterday's slide had that quote, when you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything, right? The truth that we know, it's a part of us. And so I've heard it pointed out that the truth surrounds us. The truth is, and the answers and explanations are a part of the truth, and it's always there. So when we encounter that little aspect of information, we can feel the shift within us, and it's a resonance within, so that we're in balance with what is. Does that make sense?
Excuse me. What does resonance
matter
mean?
If
Is that
the truth factually correct?
Pardon, what?
Does it matter if the truth is factually correct?
If it's not accurate, it's not true. And to be accurate, it must be correct.
Don't we often get the feeling of truth and we're completely wrong?
Often.
So I was experimenting in my mind with whether or not that quality of truth and that feeling is more important than being correct.
Again, okay. Now there's a distinction between correct and right? We get into the arguments of who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah, just factual.
Yes.
Like if I trying to think of a simple fact we can all agree on. Grass is green.
Sure.
So if we all have the feeling that grass is blue and it gives us a positive truth resonance, does it matter that the grass is green? Is there any value in that?
That, I think, that's a deep philosophical question.
This is the root of my crisis with truth. My crisis, my crisis of faith, as a Christian would put it.
Okay. And I can understand that. Because if I'm understanding your question right, I've faced that myself. Because with the truth, there's the inner acceptance and the realization, we accept something as true, but it gets strengthened through confirmation, right? When other ideas, we hear other people saying the same things different ways, or they confirm what we feel, then we get that bias, a confirmation. But I faced a lot of opposition. And so I couldn't accept that everyone was right. I had to accept that the possibility was everyone was wrong. And I've been humble and trying to stay with what I believe and what I know, what I believe I know.
From my perspective, most people care more about agreement than they do about truth.
Yes.
And I used to resent them for it, disrespect them, look down on them, and now I'm not sure I can so much anymore.
Good.
You know.
Good for you. You're finding some compassion and understanding, and yeah, people they'll seek agreement rather than the truth because there's that inner desire of acceptance. If we're wrong, we could get kicked out of the tribe, and if we're kicked out of the tribe, we might die.
So then, how do I align my compassion with the truth? See, they become antithetical to one another in that example. Just getting along with people almost means that my compassion and truth are at odds with one another.
Mm-hmm.
It's bucked up, right?
Yes. So then you got to decide what do you want? For me, I will grow in my compassion, but the truth is most important.
Word.
And
I think I'm starting to lean more towards compassion and away from truth myself.
It's sometimes it can be easier, at least for a time, put a battle aside and just be compassionate with the confused people. A question that came up for you, and it's one I've been pondering myself. Can you accept all truth is real? Even a truth that completely disagrees with your own.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to that plateau.
Well, no, some beliefs are wrong. Like some scientific facts are wrong. I mean, some people have false beliefs and false opinions and stuff like that. But the best way to find the truth, I'm not sure, but there's ways to find the truth now. There's scientific method, there's the logical stuff, the asking questions, so critical thinking and all that stuff. There's only one truth. There can't be everything the true. Like, what's that term? Postmodernism or something?
Well,
everything is relative.
Sean, despite your disagreement, there's a reason why I've come to that conclusion. And it's kind of demonstrated in the act of conversation. If you're insistent that your truth is right and another person's truth is wrong, you're going to argue. And then maybe you may miss out on what the true opportunity is of the moment. Because every conversation and every interaction, it's a mutual exchange. But when people don't want to accept, I agree, Sean, that there are things that are factually incorrect, right? They're wrong. But for the other person, it might be right. There might be a rightness to it. They may not explain it right, or, they may see an aspect that we don't see. And for myself, this is where I found peace. Rather than argue with people, I try to understand what is it that they're communicating. They can be wrong about many things, but it may not even be related to what we're trying to discuss. Does that make sense?
It did to me.
I think
I'm in the
Denison asked a
process
great
of trying to
question
do
that I
that,
think
though.
should be explored a little further. Does it matter if the grass is factually green or not?
Right.
Does it matter in the end? I think it does. But,
It
but
might.
in the end, does it really, or is it the consensus piece? I had a university professor that always said meaning is established by consensus.
In a way, that's what it's been. That's the way our courts have been. Our courts they're not really built on morality. They're built off of what is the ways of the land. Go ahead.
Even if it matters to me, and even if it matters to 3% of other people, if I can I measure, how does it matter, and can I measure that? And then, so does it weigh more? Does it matter more than what matters to the other 97%? And what's the point? What am I trying to do?
That, I think, is key. Getting clarity.
Well, this is the thing. So does it matter if grass, I think it's an excellent analogy. If grass is objectively green, does that really matter in the end? Is there any value to establishing that? Or could we just agree that it looks something like that? Is there any value in finding the objective truth to the color of the grass?
It depends on the purpose and the time and the intention of the time.
Exactly.
That's the paradigm of this experience, right? Some things are important at this time, and some things are important at a different time. And some things just aren't important. But figuring out what is important, what is not important, that's part of the individual path of maturity. And for me, it took a long time for me to realize it, because you don't see it, but you sure notice its absence. Love. Love is the number one thing that's important to me. Well, I can't say that, because I'll put love aside for the truth.
Yeah.
Jack, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I've got to drop down here, but I'll just finish off by saying this. In context, the color green and recognizing it objectively for what it is. What green is a certain wavelength on a spectrum, which if I'm out and my cow is eating green grass, it may not be that important. But if I'm relying on medical imaging technology that requires a recognition of that wavelength, or if I'm involved in astronomy that requires a recognition of that wavelength, then it does become important to know what objectively green is. So Jack, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, if green is really green, does it matter? I think it's context dependent.
But most of the time not, perhaps.
I would say it depends on what you're using that for, right?
And let's give up.
Sometimes it's extremely important that we know objectively what green is.
And
or red, or black, or blue, or any of the other colors.
And let's let go of imaging technology altogether. I grant you, imaging technology cannot be invented. Poof, it no longer exists. Does that really matter? Is that more meaningful than agreement?
This is an excellent question. Why was imaging technology invented?
Convenience?
No, I don't
Necessity.
think so.
Necessity?
Yes. Necessity for what?
Medical care.
Why?
To stop disease.
So therefore, the search for truth and objective truth can and does have benefits, like stopping disease in some cases, like allowing us to fly on airplanes, like allowing us to go on submarines, like allowing me to drive a car.
That's not the question, though.
Yeah, that's exactly the question. You threw medical imaging out. Let's use automobile.
The question isn't whether or not it has benefits. It's whether or not it matters more than people agreeing on what the truth is.
Let me see if I can steel man your point. Are you saying that knowledge of objective truth may have no greater value than people getting along?
I mean, if you say may, sure. I wasn't making a point. I asked a question.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand your question. So to reframe it, Dennison, You asked me, take the medical imaging piece out. And I asked you why, because I'm following your line of logic. Why it was medical imaging important? Why did we pursue that knowledge, which lies in objective truth? Is that the only example? Or are there other examples of us pursuing the truth that have improved our lives as a species?
Yes.
So that's my answer. Thank you
Okay,
very
it
much,
just doesn't
gentlemen.
answer my question.
I think it does.
The question
is,
was, what
is the
matters
pursuit.
more? Okay, you tell me the question, and then you answer it. Go ahead.
You're asking me to weigh whether objective truth or consensus is more valuable?
That was the question. I did say it out loud 3 times.
Yeah, in the end, it's okay if you're frustrated, Dennison. I'll answer your question. In the end,
Are you sure? Because I'm frustrated because you're not.
In the end, I believe that a consensus to pursue objective truth, pursue God, is the most valuable thing.
Most valuable?
Once again, gentlemen, thank you very much. And
Thank
hey,
you.
Jack, thanks for having me up, sir.
Much love, old Joe. Thank you very much. I think he was saying the intention to find the objective truth is the most important.
That would be in direct contradiction to agreement.
Well,
These people have no interest in what the actual objective truth is most of the time. It completely dodged the question I asked and the point I was making.
Possibly, but I can agree with his answer to some degree as well. That
I'm an atheist. I have no intention to find God. Keep that in mind.
Not yet, but all things come around. For God is real. God is love, man, and love is why we live.
Yeah,
Love
but you
is
know the
another
atheists say that.
overrated one to me too. Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
They say that I follow these atheists. I'm not an expert on science and stuff and philosophy, so I don't have the vocabulary. I follow them, but I actually never look up the words they use because I'm too lazy. But I'm just saying that the scientists I follow, some scientists say that the universe is all there is. Scientists have only found the evidence for the universe. We haven't found evidence for God yet, like using the scientific method. So I'm agnostic on a superpower thing. I haven't found good evidence for it yet.
But you found evidence of the universe. And the universe came from something. It came from some source.
Yeah, but let's say God created the universe. Who created God?
It's irrelevant to our life experience or our level of intelligence. We'll never need to know that answer because we'll never experience beyond it.
But I would put God in that container as well. Like the God and universe are the same. The words used interchangeably from my perspective. And this is again, in order to have a conversation, I have to already agree to let go of objective truth and use compassion to contradict what I know is true, just to even talk to the other fucking person in the room. Right?
Isn't it challenging? But yes, you're absolutely right. That's part of maturity, being able to hold conflicting ideas together at the same time, allowing good and evil to be. That way we can see what is the truth. Because there's aspects of everything in everything. It's glorious. Once you start seeing the patterns, and for me, the realization that truly, I know how it sounds, but truly I control nothing. I have no power beyond that which is allowed for me. And the power I'm allowed, the life force energy that I feel that moves me through the day, I don't control that. I try to nurture the energy I have. I try to do the routines of food and sleep and hygiene and care, but I don't control it. I just nurture and I manage the energies. So for me, I've come to realize the way of Jesus is truly the way we all want to be. We all do. We all want to be with love. We all want to be with peace. And truly, I came to know God as the truth, but I came to know life as love. And it's through love that we get to know. We get to know who we are. We get to know who others are. We get to know today and the past.
Yeah, but did God create evil?
It says that in the scripture.
So he's like both. He's yin yang. He's both. So he's not all of it. If God was perfect, he would have not created evil. Do you know what I mean? That's the problem with evil, basically.
According to your standards, sure. And I can understand why that case would be made, but I understand God to be beyond the good and evil. God's beingness is, and through God's beingness and isness, we get to be. Because God's will was that we would be. And so we are. And in the world, there's light and dark. There's day and night. There's man and woman. There's good and evil. What are we going to do? I want.
Are we trying to make heaven on earth?
Receive heaven on earth. It has already been given. As has life, as have the answers, as have love. It's already
I have an answer to how I do that. Cooperation.
Please.
Cooperation. And how do I know if I'm truly cooperating for the greater good? It's a feeling. I have no facts or evidence.
Denizen, is truth a feeling for you like it is for Hank? Hank has described it as a feeling.
I think it is for all human beings, and we lie to ourselves about it. And we tell ourselves these stories about how objective and fucking analytical we are, when really you're just going by your gut all the time.
Yep.
And that more to my question, and I don't know the answer, right? So the point isn't in the question. What matters more? To cooperate with people to the extent to which we all feel like we're aligned, or knowing whether or not grass is green.
That's a good point. Because it's kind of almost irrelevant if the grass is green in a way, right?
Well, and again,
you know what I mean?
Would say it would depend on the situation.
Well, it also, I would say, it depends on the consequences of thinking that the grass is green or blue. I guess whatever.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
I gotta give credit to Sean. I think he deserves almost an award today. He's asked the most questions and not been kicked off the Jack Talcott show of anybody ever. That guy's gotten away with asking about 300 or 500 questions today. It's remarkable. I've never seen that done, Sean. You're the best at asking questions and remaining on the panel that I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah,
Dude,
I demand a recount. I would just like to.
That's a lot of questions.
Toss that out there, but you did do very well, Sean. That is objectively true.
It's got to be hundreds at this point. He's asked so many questions.
We all feel like we're in alignment on this one.
It's been wonderful, but golly geez, I guess I do have that reputation, don't I? People.
I think it's a good example of how the intent matters.
Yes,
Sean didn't come up here to make you look like an idiot and a loser and to disrespect everybody else on the panel and tell everybody how he's the one who's right about everything. He just had some interesting thoughts and questions and was engaged in listening more than talking. And that's why
he didn't come on like Snafu and Illumitami is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Basically. He didn't come on
that's why, like, as much as Jack does get pissed at people, I say the bigger gaslighters are the ones who are trying to tell us that it's all Jack's fault and that there isn't another subcontext there.
Well, my point wasn't just Jack gets pissed, but Sean truly has been asked a lot of questions. I've really never seen anybody ask that many questions on any live stream I've been on. I mean, I'm crediting the guy. He should get an award for this. The amount of questions he's come up with today has been remarkable.
Yeah, well, when you're a curious human being, you like to learn stuff. But I still disagree with you, but I try and do it respectfully because I know I don't want to get kicked out. You know what I mean?
You have been respectful. That's
the point. Yeah.
And I genuinely, I do appreciate it. And Denizen, thank you for seeing. A big part of it is Sean's intention and his energy. So thank you.
God bless you out there who can face a barrage of questions that are disingenuous, insulting, meant to undermine you, and loaded, and you still maintain your patience 100% of the time.
I get those every day, Denizen. I deal with that every day.
I think we all do, but
I deal with people here asking me why I'm the co-host, or oh, you're not the co-host, and what do you do? What's he really doing on there?
Well, the great thing about you being here for me, Stephen, is that I am no longer Jack's ball washer when you're here.
Right.
You're his.
I'm not that either.
Denizen all of a sudden becomes objective again when you're here.
Yeah. But I'm not that either. They're mistaken. I'm genuinely trying to understand what Jack's message is and how it applies to the world. I think these people could take a note from Sean and say, if we disagree with Jack so much, why don't we ask legitimate questions that are not loaded questions instead of attacking like some of them do? Chuck comes on here.
Chuck's got to come out now swinging.
Here he goes. So yeah, I mean this is what they do. Red and others, if they would say to themselves, "I'm going to be more like Sean was today." That was a good example. He was curious. He was respectful. He asked questions, but he didn't just attack Jack or attack the guests. He paid attention. I mean, he was a model guest.
We're giving Jack until 3 p.m. Pacific time on Friday, the 30th of May, to end all wars. That's his deadline, Chuck. So tune in. He shouldn't be a minute too
Chuck
late.
wants the deadline. Is that what Chucky's looking for? Old Chuck. Old disagreeable Chuck.
I was interested in Jack's subject the other day, and he never really got through it all the way because he got sidetracked by the people on the panel. Because I was interested to see his viewpoint or his philosophy on it, and he never got to finish it. I know he started it, but it never finished.
Sounds like you're crying and blaming and bringing disagreements. Chuck. You got to do better than that, dude. Come on. Be positive like Sean is.
I'm interested too now that Chuck's mentioned it.
Yeah, because I was watching it the other day, hoping to get some answers, and then it got derailed, and Jack never really got to finish it because there was the big argument over the word benevolent. Or am I incorrect, Jack? Am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure I made it through all the slides in the presentation.
Did you? Yeah. I'll have to go back and rewatch it again then.
There you go. You weren't paying attention, Chuck, as usual. I'm not judging, but Chuck, you could do a lot better. You do get under Jack's skin.
Gosh darn! That's why I was wanting to listen to it, to learn, to see what his viewpoint on that particular subject matter was.
We'll see if you do. Well, good for you if you do.
I hope you do. I mean, the term stood out for me because, well, that's how words work, right? You get the right couple of words together and it clicks. You get a deeper perception. Benevolent socialism actually, it pretty accurately describes what I'm suggesting. That we use compassion to manage the resources, manage and direct the resources in our community, and find compassion through transparency. So it all comes back to the ending secrets and lies.
Was there specific ways to get there in that presentation? I'm talking about as far as you're talking about controlling the distribution of resources. Was there
Right.
a game plan or a breakdown of how that would happen?
Well, in that particular presentation, I was focused mostly on the concepts and the ideas, but let's just think it through.
Okay.
If we wanted a different system, how might that get done, Chuck?
Well, that's what I was trying to learn from it, what that system looked like.
Well, do you think it would probably require the people who have legislative authority? I kind of think they'd have to be involved with implementing and bringing forth new systems in our nation.
Well, yeah, we got the Constitution, so that's what we got to go by. I agree.
That's not even close to what I was saying, Chuck.
Well, I mean, in order to have the legislature like we do, and the executive and the judicial, for them to change things, they would have to change it legislatively.
Right.
And then the president has to sign off on it. And then if somebody wants to argue with it, it goes to the Supreme Court and they decide this is the true meaning of the legislation, is the way I understand how it works.
Okay.
Can I jump in for a second? Chuck, you have a pattern of doing this. You're derailing the show into this political details.
I'll leave,
you do this. I don't know if you're aware of it, but
I was interested
obvious.
in this conversation.
I was too, but apparently I'm not welcome, so I'll leave.
No,
have a good. Yes, sir.
Stephen can chill. Well, Chuck, regarding the processes, yes, I'm aware of how the systems work. And the question, when you brought up the way the systems work, the question was, if we wanted to implement benevolent socialism, because you said that's what you were wondering if there was a plan. I'm trying to connect the dots to my other, hundreds of live streams where I've talked about speaking to the men and women in Congress. Do you now understand why I'm thinking that would be a good idea, Chuck?
Well, if my concept of socialism is right, which it could be wrong, you just don't. You give
It's
people
public ownership over the
up.
means of production.
Public
What
ownership.
I'm talking about is ending legal secrets so that we can deal with the reality of wage slavery and wars. Wage slavery and wars can end. I know they can. I'm hoping to connect with other human beings who are willing to believe that it should end.
Can you give me a definition of slave labor or whatever you just said?
Hey, I have to jump off. I'll talk to you guys another time, okay?
Hey, good to see you, Andy. Goodbye.
Thank you
for
for having
having
me. Take care. God bless.
Take care, Andy.
Chuck.
Well, I know what some people mean.
I can give you a definition.
If you were going to guess wage slavery, what do you think Jack Talcott is talking about?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Can you do that, Chuck?
I don't know. The only thing I see is wage slavery is the system like what China has.
Okay, how so? Can you give
I get it.
Can you give two or three sentences on what you think that is in China?
The people going to work and they get 50 cents a day, let's just say, or down in South America, they get 50 cents a day.
What are people getting in America, Chuck? That they can't pay their bill.
Let them finish.
Let them finish, please. Yeah.
But that's my definition of slave labor, where you're doing something.
Just that one criteria of low wages, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I understand it to be. and you're assigned a job as opposed to having the free choice of jobs that you want to do. You're told what job you're going to do.
Do you think you're free in America, Chuck?
Yeah,
Yeah,
to a certain degree.
he does. He just explained that by juxtaposing Chinese
Okay.
people being forced into a job with whatever
but I
system he
wanted a
thinks
direct
we're.
answer. I asked for a reason. I wanted him
Okay.
to answer
All
directly.
ears.
So you do believe that you're free in America? You believe you're in a
I
free
said
country?
to some
free system.
degree, to a certain degree, we are.
So would you say to a certain degree we're not free then?
Yeah, we have some certain limits or ceilings or boundaries on things.
Would you say to a certain degree Americans are paid low wages, that their labor is exploited? They're more productive than they are compensated for.
It depends where you live.
Okay,
That's very
so
vague and evasive.
yeah. Can you give me an example of a place, like if we can make this binary for the sake of communicating information efficiently? Give me an example of a place where you are being exploited, and an example of a place where you won't get exploited.
Okay, I worked at a steel mill in St. Louis area. I was making, with benefits, I was making $75 an hour. However, down south, there was a steel mill I'm trying to remember where the other one was at, Alabama or Arkansas, where they were non-union, right to work state type thing. And they were making probably half of what we were making, and their benefits was nowhere near what we had. And it was the same company.
So do you think it's minimum wages and union rights then are the difference between those two examples instead of just geography?
I don't know, because in some places, right to work, a lot of times what I found in right before it really took off, right to work allowed uneducated people to at least get employment, piecemeal work type stuff. And then the more job demanding is where you ran into the money. If you needed people to think.
Where the labor market's tighter.
Yeah.
So so do you think that maybe minimum wage laws for low skill and low wage workers would solve that problem of exploitation?
Well, I don't know how you would figure out a quote unquote true minimum wage.
Can I jump in for a moment? You guys are kind of getting hung up in the weeds and the details, I think. I just want to bring it back on target, on track. I think that I think that Chuck does see Jack's point about wage slavery, but he disagrees with Jack Talcott. And he'll do a roundabout way. Listen, you're interrupting, Chuck. Let me finish here. You're interrupting.
Take your stick and put it back in your pocket.
You're interrupting. You're interrupting. You get hung up in the details, and you tell all these stories about your work experience, steel mill. It goes back to Chucky, and I think this is what
just
tires Jack. You're interrupting again. You're interrupting, and it goes back to Chucky. And what you do is you drain Jack and frustrate him. He's sitting here listening. It always goes back to Chuck's life. That's what I notice the pattern of every time.
Well, that's going to be true for most people.
For
and
Chuck,
that's what I was
every
trying
time.
to do, is to talk to him in his own terms to get him to see that he already agrees with what we're saying. Because it's
Why doesn't he just agree with Jack and say yes, wage slavery exists? It's pretty simple, rather than
I
wasting.
don't think
I don't know, Stephen. I don't know, Stephen.
I'm asking him. I'm not asking Denizen. I'm asking you, Chuck.
Well,
Why don't you just be straightforward?
I don't think it exists right now until I
If you agree
learn
with
more
Jack, why don't
about
you just
it.
say, you know what? I agree, Jack. You made a point there. Is it
So
difficult?
on that premise, don't you think it exists in what'd you say it was, Alabama, at that factory?
To some degree, yes.
Didn't we use your definition to prove that it exists in this country?
He knows it exists.
I agree. They should have been paid the same as we were being paid at the plant I was at. I do agree with that.
Okay,
However,
now let's. Okay, sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
when we went down there to try to pull them into our union, they voted it down. They didn't want the union in there. So what are we supposed to do then?
I get your point, but you're still agreeing that wage slavery exists in America, right?
If that's what you want to give it a
That's what
definition as.
That's, to be fair, that's what you see, because I can elaborate on the definition a little bit. I could say,
Yeah, please do.
Wage slavery is the exploitation of labor by business, and some of the symptoms of that are low wages, poor treatment and conditions, not a lot of opportunities for upward mobility. Do any of these things sound familiar? You're right. So
but certain plants or factories, there's not going to be a whole lot of movement or upward movement available if it's a monotonous piecemeal type operation.
Right, but who cares? We're trying to get to whether or not wage slavery exists. If your point, Chuck, is only in factories, I would pry on that a little bit. I think you could find it happens at Walmart. It happens at 7-Eleven. It happens for people who deliver food, clean our laundry,
Now, see, what I
wash
call
our toilets.
This is where I would disagree with you, because I don't have to work at Walmart. I don't have to work at 7-Eleven.
You don't.
I can seek other opportunities, and I'm talking on an individual basis. So every individual would be able to. Yes.
Chuck, you can seek other opportunities for what?
For a different job.
Right. And a different job for what?
That fits your needs that you're looking for as an individual.
For money. Wage slavery. It's a term that I heard from the International Workers of the World, the IWW, also known as the Wobblies, a radical group of unionists and organizers back in the early 1900s. So for a long time, workers have been pointing out, hey, this is slavery. I'm going to a job because I have to go to a job. Otherwise, I can't feed my family. This is extortion. So while I go to my job because my government has created this society where I have to have bankers' money in order to survive, and then I go to a job and the boss doesn't even let me do the job the way I know I can do the job. I got to do the job the way the boss says to do the job, and it's not safe. But shit, if I speak up, I'm in a right to work state. That means I can be fired and some other schmuck will come in and do the job unsafely. Chuck,
as much money too.
If we're trading labor for dollars, what's gonna substitute that?
Chuck, the entire economic system, fractional reserve, debt-based slavery, that is the American way. We're voluntary slaves because mankind doesn't share. The only reason we have billionaires is because the masses have been taught to think like them. Lies, selfishness have corrupted mankind so much they can't even fucking think.
So if I'm going into work for somebody,
you're an example.
How do I achieve something if I go into work for this company?
Is that related to what I was saying, Chuck?
Can I jump in here? May I jump in here?
Go ahead.
Try to, just to break it up intentionally, right? Kind of bring us around again.
Thank you.
I'm flexing.
What I want to do is attempt to answer the last question you just asked. So keep that in mind. And the only reason I'm not doing it first is because I didn't understand it. But I
Okay.
want to point what I want to point out though is it seems like what Jack is trying to communicate to you is how fucked up the system is. And rather than give any agreement with that, the argument to why it's not fucked up is all the ways we can't change it or make it better. Does that ring true to you at all?
But that's not what I was saying.
Okay, go ahead and re-ask your last question for
My
me
last
though.
question,
Give me a chance to answer.
Okay, Jack said do away with the Federal Reserve
He
component.
didn't say that. He said that it's fucking up our lives.
I would end it. I would end the Fed.
Maybe we all would. That's not the point. The point is Jack didn't fucking say that. So keep the, you know what I mean? Let's listen to each other
Well,
here.
I
And then
thought that's what he was talking about, that we go to work for dollars. What
You're
would I go to
confused
work
again,
for
Chuck.
without dollars? You know, trading my labor for money in order to.
Me personally, if it were legal, I would find a piece of land that no one was using, that was literally just fucking sitting there. And not only is it just fucking sitting there, but it's also the most beautiful piece of land I've ever seen in my life. It looks like it comes from my dreams. And I would build a cabin on that land and find a way to farm that land and to hunt that land. And I would create a life for myself outside of this sick, fucked
Little
up,
House on the Prairie,
decayed, rotting fucking system that's literally just rotting and toxic and putrid. That's what I would
Sounds
do.
like you hate
But
this system,
but you know
Denizen.
you know why you can't do that though, Chuck? Because somebody in a suit and a clipboard will find you and fuck you up. They're either going to take all your shit or they're going to put you in a cage.
They'll Waco you. They'll pull a Waco like they did Texas.
Well, I got 7 acres. I got chickens. I grow my own vegetables.
It's always about you. What about others, Chuck?
I'm just using that as an example.
How'd you get all those things? Did you build all those things with your own hands?
The chicken coop I did, the garden I did, the house was already here.
I believe it. Now, how did you acquire the materials in order to build it with your own hands?
By the sweat of my brow for 50 years.
Right. This is my point. It wouldn't take you 50 years if you weren't a wage slave. It'd take you about 50 months.
Yeah. If that.
How are you going to get the
you
material?
can't go full communist. I mean, Jack, do you agree with like democratic communism?
I don't know what your definition
That's a new one.
of communism is. Okay.
Well, no, I don't think.
What
I mean, we did this before. We did communism. It didn't work. The Chinese did it, and they had to change in the 70s.
Is that what you remember? Is that what you were taught? Is that what you were told?
I mean, that assertion just, when I hear it now, I used to believe it too. I believed it wholeheartedly. And now when I hear it, I know this is someone who's not even thinking for themselves anymore. Couldn't possibly do.
There's two big communities in Europe. I'll have to look it up again. It's been a while. There's 2 big towns, communities that attempted to do the communal socialist route in the towns. Both the towns or cities, they were pretty big places failed. And I'd have to go back and do research.
Great story, bro.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting hasn't been accomplished before. What I'm suggesting, it seems pretty logical to me. We don't need a money system. If we're going to have a money system, then we need to create more fairness within it. $100 to a single mom is a hell of a lot different than $100, maybe even to you or me.
Yeah.
Especially different to people like Donald Trump and the other millionaires in Congress.
Elon Musk can wipe his ass with it.
Well, it's not their
Yes,
fault
they
they
can.
made the money that they
Chuck.
made under the
Chuck.
current
Hey,
system.
Chuck.
we
See,
have.
Chuck.
who gives a fuck about fault or blame?
Right. Get out of your fucking.
That's what I'm
mindset,
saying.
Chuck, you're the one who's you're so worried about blame.
No, I was trying to take the blame off of them.
Chuck,
Nobody blamed them.
Right. No one is
well.
blaming anyone. You're interrupting to create a defense for people who aren't here. You're disrespecting me and others to protect your beliefs.
I don't think he's doing that on purpose, though.
No, I wasn't innocent. Thank you.
I'm starting to get. I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to get that he thinks this shit.
He does.
And that defensiveness is coming from his soul.
And I'm not the most eloquent speaker. I don't worship. That was for the prior to the election, Stephen.
So what? It's still there today.
It was there to.
It's still
I can
there. I don't
change
care
it.
if it was prior.
Here, let me put this one up there. You happy? I changed it. I only got
Great.
a couple of
I've
two.
I've got some of those too, Chucky boy. I know what you're doing.
I think that's a
I got some of those too.
How about that one? No, that wasn't
I got
a
some of those
TOS.
too. I got some of those too, you old fool.
It's only a T.
You
No,
old
it's only
fool.
a TOS if
I
you
want to
have
say,
it in your hand.
can I get to say something without you interrupting? I think the
I'm letting
main
you.
disagreement, I think one of the reasons why Jack is frustrated all the time with Chuck is because you do this, Chuck. This is what bothers Jack, and you're not self-aware to realize it. You make it about yourself. Nobody cares if you made $75 an hour with benefits. Not everyone does, Chuck. There are wage slaves, even if you weren't. Even if you weren't, and that's how it
That was
began.
what
You
I
interrupt
had.
again. You're interrupting again. You never let anyone finish. Why don't you care about others beyond yourself? That's the main disagreement that I see between personalities with you and Jack.
In a way, you're.
I
accurate.
think Chuck just identifies with capitalism, and he's been programmed to
He
think
measures
like
the
that.
world by himself. If he's successful and fine, he
All right, now
measures
you're
it that
talking
way.
about interrupting people. You know.
Yeah, Stephen.
That's why
And,
I'm
let's have a
asking. Whoops, I'm sorry.
Smoke a
Go
Call
ahead.
him out on it. He did it multiple times. You're biased, Denizen.
Here, please.
I'm
Please.
talking about you though now.
Yeah, I know what you're doing. I see
Here,
you.
Please.
What do you see me? I'm telling you what I'm doing.
Denizen, you're right. And Chuck, you've got to see this. You believe in what you've learned. You believe in the capitalist system and you believe in the American system, but you don't have a clear mind on what it is you're supporting, and you don't understand me, but you've rejected me.
That's why. Whoops, I'm sorry.
Well, the whole discussion was, for some reason, you couldn't understand what I meant when I said wage slavery. As long as you've allegedly listened to me, you've never considered what I'm talking about when I say wage slavery. So,
I thought you were done. My bad.
Well, go ahead, Chuck, please.
That's the reason I'm asking questions, because I haven't really ever heard you define what wage slavery was.
You
talk
defined
about
it.
and
You defined it. And he just did. Like, he just went into a rant because he was a little pissed at you and defined it for like fucking 30 seconds long, bro. He went into a whole like soliloquy about it.
This is what I mean. People don't listen to the explanations, especially when they're in these habits of arguing. And for whatever reason, Chuck is another guy. He's been brought in my life. He's not a bad guy. He's got good intentions, but
I disagree. I think he is a bad guy, Jack.
I
I really do. I don't think he
he's
has
not.
good intentions.
He's not. He's not.
I'm not even
cruel.
kidding. I don't think he's a good guy. Tell us another story about chickens in the steel mill, Chuck. It's
Steven.
always about your life. That's what it's about all the time. All the time.
You just want to hear about
No
me
matter the
marrying my
topic,
sister.
all
Come
about
on.
you, Chucky boy. Every time I've noticed this pattern on every live stream, not just here on Jack's.
Okay, but the things we judge, we can easily become. All right. So don't take his place.
I won't tell you about my chickens, Jack. Don't worry. Chuck's got to tell us about his chicken coop and his steel mill job and how much he made. It was all about him. He wasn't listening to you. He doesn't listen to you, Jack.
Asked me a specific question. I was trying to
You're not here to
answer
listen.
his question.
You're not here to listen.
If I wasn't here to listen, I wouldn't be asking some of these questions. Maybe they don't come out right. Maybe
Well,
I
you prove you don't listen.
misunderstood.
You prove you're not listening, dude. You proved
But
it.
I go to specifics in my mind.
I'm not
as opposed
judging. I'm
to,
just saying you. It shows. You're showing yourself.
instead of generalities, my mind goes to specifics. That's why
We don't need to hear about your steel mill fucking job and how much you made. It was irrelevant. That's the reality. That's what frustrates Jack, that Chuck always goes back to Chuck.
Well, the arguments frustrate me. That's for sure. And the unwillingness to consider ideas that are different.
Does he ever just agree? Let me ask you that, Jack, please. Does he ever just say, Jack, I agree? I'm just curious. In all these years, has Chuck ever been here and said, Jack, you know what, I agree with you? And make it that simple agreement? Can he do it?
There may have been an occasion.
I've not seen it in all the months I've been tuned in.
That was what I was trying to work toward. I think we did get some agreement there. I think Chuck agrees on partial definition of wage slavery and that it exists in the United States. And
but it's like he disagrees. Even when he agrees, he has to argue. It's weird.
He did. That's true. But why look for that, Stephen? You're doing what he's doing.
I'm not looking for it. I'm observing the pattern, and I'm trying to get him to change. I'm trying to help him to change.
I was brought up in the system. That's why I'm asking questions, so I can do more research to understand some of these other avenues.
Well,
I'm sorry,
Chuck,
it comes across wrong, Stephen.
Chuck, if you listened to my words, I mean, I've mentioned before that, Chuck, you don't actually understand me. And I know based on the way you talk about me and the way you treat me, you've never tuned into my monologues to see what I'm talking about. Okay? So you may not know, but don't blame me for your lack of knowing. I've explained it many times. And today I actually want to thank all of you, especially you, Chuck, and Denizen, for stepping in and letting me kind of step back, because it's been frustrating.
Yeah.
And this,
I'd like to make a point here.
I
that's beyond
appreciate
Chuck,
Denizen as a moderator.
Jack, I'd like to say something here.
Please.
If I agree with Sean, or if I agree with Jack, or if I agree with Denizen or someone in the chat, my way of being is to just say, I agree. I don't just get into this disagreement stuff. You can just be forthright and direct and say, I agree, Jack, or I agree, Sean. Now, I don't see Chuck doing that with not only Jack Talcott, but with others. And I wonder what the reason is for that. If you agree, why do we have to go round and round in circles for half an hour for you to finally... It's like, why didn't you just say, I agree there is wage slavery? It would have been simple. You don't have to tell your life story, okay? You don't have to do that, dude. You don't have
It's defensiveness because his whole life story is based upon that reality that you can't... That's socialism. That's dead Ukrainians. You know, that's Mao. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's just... We could tweak some economic policies. You know what I'm saying? We could even create these systems within the existing system. You don't even have to change. You could still be a wage slave if you want. We could create co-ops.
Absolutely. We have so many opportunities to bring change, but do we have the willingness? And can we convince the people who have the resources and the ability? Can we convince them that it's time?
Yeah, the
I don't
people
know.
with the mindset like mine, that's tough to overcome. I understand.
Tough
At
to
least
agree.
that's the first step of getting over a problem. Is recognizing you have one, Chuck.
I understand.
Well, this is the thing.
Right, guys. Well, I'll see you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you joining sincerely.
Bye,
Blessings
Sean.
to you.
Praise
Bye.
Brother
Bless you.
Sean, and good evening, Jack Talcott and Stephen, Denizen, and Chuck.
Hey,
Move.
Teabagger, what's up?
Good to see you, bud.
Blessings to you. Crazy. Whoops.
My point was just if you really truly agree, you don't have to make excuses and disagree. Just agree. If you disagree, you disagree, then it's honest. But if you actually agree with someone, don't do the disagreement bullshit stuff.
Well, I said this yesterday. It came up in my thoughts. It's not wise to deny what is not understood. And our ego minds, for the sense of familiarity, for the sense of safety and comfort, we will reject what we don't understand. And we'll find all sorts of excuses not to investigate it. However, we can change. Every one of us can change. And truly, a love for the truth. That I've been living with this idea for a number of years now. And I play with it like a game. I love the truth. I don't know what I'm going to discover each day. Each day is a new adventure in life. It's a gift. Anything is possible. Unless we believe nothing is possible. Either way, we'll be right. Hey, Moose, I know you just showed up, but we're over 3.5 hours already. I'm feeling it's time to start wrapping up.
Hey, let's wrap this baby up with a nice bow and call it a day. Thank you, Jack Talcott. And if anybody found some value out there, maybe you'll contribute a couple dollars to Jack and help his fund. Have a great day, guys. Peace.
Hey, much love to you. I appreciate you, my friend. How about Chuck? Any parting words, my friend?
Well, contrary to Stephen wanting to stir trouble up, I was asking questions so I could figure out on my own what exactly you're talking about in certain situations was all I was trying to do. I think Denizen caught on. I'm not the most eloquent speaker there is, but I try my
True that.
best. And that's why I ask these questions so I can get more insight into where you're going to. And I'll pass with that.
Listen. That's the key. Active listening.
Absolutely. I hope he's correct, but honestly,
He can be telling the truth now, Jack, and it doesn't change anything about the amount of resentment he's had for you in the past. And it could positively change the amount of resentment he's had for you in the future. So I think this would be another one of those cases where we embrace what feels better than
you're right.
What might be objectively true.
Absolutely. Although I've made the mistake in the past of getting my hopes up, believing that the right words were said or the right thing happened, and then nope, I was wrong. However, what Chuck said, if sincerely, you gave the answer, Denizen. If people would listen, to one another, we wouldn't have as many arguments and disagreements as we do. But listening is a skill that, the impatient don't have time for.
Yep. Listening is important.
Well, and what I would encourage Chuck to do is to listen to the words I've said. if he wanted to understand me, he could try to understand what I've been saying. And if he has specific ideas, you know, that he can't wrap his head around, I can expand the ideas. But the ego, it's a trait within us all. The mind is the logical part. The ego is the analyzer. It's the part with the logic and reasoning that wants to do everything and figure everything out. It's also the part that carries the confusion. So the key is to use the ego, use the logic and reasoning, but don't get limited by the false assumptions, by the feelings, because it's important for us to know the truth. And I swear, if I'm right, and I don't know, this can work out in any different way, but if somehow God is using me, these things I'm saying, it's confirmed through the scripture. Love is the way. And if this is real, then the day of our Lord, it's coming soon. And that means the new kingdom will be ours to share. All things are possible. Time to wrap up, though. How about I'll defer and allow the co-host the final. So, Denizen, thoughts from you, brother?
I like watermelon juice. Have you ever had watermelon juice?
Yes. It's
Are
cleansing.
watermelons in season right now?
I thought they're later in the year. I'm not sure. We live at a time you can get it at. We live.
Yeah, but it tastes bad.
Time. Yeah, you're right. The flavor is different out of season, but yes, watermelon juice. Very hydrating, very refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
Although on social media, I've seen some people getting some funky watermelons. Have you seen those videos?
Yeah. Weird inside. Yeah, we're really strange.
I haven't. What do you mean?
It's
Like-
racist.
It's racist.
It's war. It's war to war on watermelons. It's wrong.
The videos show the flesh of the watermelon being like fleshy substance, not the cell structures of a healthy watermelon.
GMO maybe. Could be.
We're living at a bizarre time, guys. This is this life. It is the adventure of a lifetime. And this adventure is going to be what we created individually and collectively. So let's unite. If not with me, unite with others and start creating adventures, living out dreams. I think that's the way.
Miracles happen. I can turn watermelons into wine.
All right. Denison, anything? I'm going to toss you, brother.
Praise Black Jesus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for what you brought today, too. I appreciated that. And Stephen, thank you as well. I appreciate what you brought. You get a little feisty sometimes, and I've appreciated. You've caught me. You've caught me trying to caution, and I've seen you reset and backing off. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
You're
and
welcome.
I do appreciate you standing up for me too. I see that's what you're doing as well.
I have been trying to do that more and more. I've trying to be vocal, but not go overboard. I'm going to keep this brief today. Thank you for having me on, Jack Talcott. Bless you. And Talcott Tuesday, everybody that was here. I still don't trust Chuck. I got to be honest. I'm not being mean. Fuck Chuck. I don't trust him. I hope he starts listening a lot more. And I hope he pays attention. And when he agrees with someone, whether it's with Jack or someone else, when he knows what's going on, I think he plays a game. He should just get used to saying as a grown man, I agree. Even if he doesn't like the person or has resentments, when I agree with someone, I don't pretend to disagree and go on a long thing and drag it out. Agreement is easy when you actually see what they're saying. So Chuck, I hope that when you agree with someone deep down that you don't pretend to disagree. It's these pretend disagreements that are frustrating for people. But anyway, thank you for having me on. Bless you all. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Much love, and thank you very much. I appreciate all who tuned in, all who joined, all who are a part of this. There's a comment. Luna, many people have offered this. Stephen plays you like a fiddle and you can't even see it. I see more than people consider. I have a high tolerance of what I'll allow and what I'll accept, especially when I have a greater goal in mind. And my greater goal is to have some productive, positive conversations here in the live stream. And as long as people are supportive of that goal, you're welcome here. Okay, so brothers and sisters, all who are a part of this, holy cows, this is a long one again. Let me wrap this up. I was going to say, for all who are a part of this in the future, we'll have more peace-focused conversations where peace is shared and healthy conversations are had. And I want to thank everyone who showed up. There was opposing ideas as well, and we still had healthy dialogue. So there's hope for us all. Brothers and sisters, thank you again, once again. Till next time, choose love, peace for everyone, and live without fear. God bless us all, and peace.